Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Others are living in the apocalypse, but I am invincible. Chapter 1. As night falls, Huan City lights up the dark night sky like a pearl, and young people wearing bold clothes are walking on both sides of the street. Tang's put down his phone and looked at the traffic light. He felt a little tired today and stopped taking takeout orders. Boom boom boom, the Lamborghini parked next to it roared like a wild beast. Tang's turned his head and saw a beautiful and refreshing young lady sitting in the passenger seat. The man driving the car twitched his eyebrows at him, as if to show off. Tang Xi said, "What are you holding in your mouth? I have the money to drive a Wuling Hongguang and drag it away." Suddenly, a strange sound came from Tang Xi's Bluetooth headset. There are 3 hours, 31 minutes and 13 seconds left before the end of the world. Send the apocalyptic gift package version 1.0. Listening to this inexplicable sound, Tang Xi's face was full of doubts. Who is playing tricks on me? However, the phone shows whether to open the Doomsday Gift Pack version 1.0. Virus. This must be a mobile phone virus. Didi. The car behind started honking and urging, and Tang Xi accidentally touched the receiver. Infinite supplies. Has been received. Strengthening the body. Has been accepted. Weapons and Equipment version 1.0 has been received. Note: extract items with your mind. Extracting the Doomsday Gift Pack 2.0 requires upgrading the energy tank. Listening to this cold voice, Tang Xi couldn't help but shudder. He couldn't be serious. Haha, if you have the ability, give me an AK-47 that I can't suppress. When he saw a damaged version of the AK-47 appearing between his legs, Tang Xi almost burst into tears and disappeared quickly. As the weapon disappeared, Tang Xi breathed a sigh of relief, but his heartbeat couldn't help but speed up. This happened too suddenly, and he was not prepared at all. He made a U-turn and rushed to the rental house. Jinyuan community is a bit far from the city center, and the rent of 2,000 a month makes Tang Xi feel pain. So he puts his electric donkey to charge and goes home without stopping. The small apartment of 50 square meters is still a bit spacious for Tang Xi. He took off his helmet to reveal a sunny face. He is only 22 years old this year and has been working for several years as a security guard and a waiter. He has no relatives at home. After washing his face, Tang Xi sat on the sofa and tried to practice the apocalyptic rules first. Just open the tomato novel and start reading. 2 hours later, Tang Xi understood the truth that self-interest was the most important thing. Opening the weapons arsenal, there are all kinds of pistols, automatic rifles, sniper rifles, and a few bullets, but that's all. There is no greater firepower output, they are all light weapons. Regarding physical strengthening, Karasuwa took out a kitchen knife that could be bent directly and his fingers could be inserted into the cement wall. Looking at the dust on his fingers, the smile on Tang Xi's face became a little thicker. Taking out a pistol, Tang Xi took a deep breath. Come on, the end of the world, I am tired of this life, I am not the little brother, I am the big brother. Early in the morning, raindrops could be heard outside the house, and a light rain gradually began to fall. Horrifying screams suddenly resounded throughout the community. Tang Xi immediately walked to the balcony and saw several corpses lying on the road. Among them, those who were hiding from the rain wanted to save others, but were directly exposed to the rain, which corroded their bodies like sulfuric acid, and fell down with screams like ghosts and wolves. At the same time, the lights gradually turned on in the entire community, and everyone stood on the balcony and watched in confusion, not knowing what was happening. Everyone's mobile phones received emergency notifications at the same time. Please do not leave your residence. Don't get wet in the rain. Wait for rescue. Tang Xi frowned slightly and turned to look at the balcony next to him. A beautiful girl also looked towards Tang Xi. After living here for a year, Tang Xi certainly knew that the girl next to him was a female anchor. She was indeed pretty, with a curvy front and back, but she was a bit. What are you looking at, you stinky loser? After saying that, he turned around and went back to his room. Tang Xi smiled disapprovingly. He was already in the apocalypse, and he still thought he was someone. In the apocalypse, women equals exchangeable goods. A piece of bread can do anything you want. 20 years later, the end of the world has come to an end without even having time to fall in love. It's a pity, but 998 has been a smooth one. Quickly make some braised beef instant noodles to calm down the panic. No, I have unlimited supplies. Why don't I jump over the wall and brush my teeth? Tasting the delicacies only the rich can eat, Tang Xi took out his mobile phone to scroll through Douyin, and the whole world fell into panic. Soon, an emergency message was sent out that all water sources were contaminated. Tang shrugged, it didn't matter. I wonder if a glass of water can make the woman next door kneel down in a few days. Haha, call me a stinky dick. Let's go downstairs and see how things are going. Just arrived on the first floor, there was a sea of people, all lined up outside the convenience store to buy water, and people came down one after another to watch, but everyone had a look of horror on their faces, and there were several corpses lying outside, which stimulated every nerve. All became more irritable. Oh, don't be too crowded. What kind of team do you want to join? It's Sao Nima's fault. As soon as these words came out, the two men immediately struggled with each other. The women stood aside in panic. Taking advantage of the panic, many men rushed into the convenience store to grab supplies. The boss couldn't stop them at all. The supplies were looted by the men in a few minutes, and the women had no way to get involved. Don't you men know that ladies come first? A middle-aged woman wearing glasses yelled. What are you doing, you? A strong man shouted disdainfully. How often do you keep shouting this kind of thing? There are corpses lying outside. When the end of the world comes, men's advantages will be immediately apparent. The man who had not grabbed the supplies began to think of other ways and drove out to buy food. However, looking at the bodies lying outside, he did not dare to take a step. Moreover, it was visible to the naked eye that the tires were slowly corroding. It seemed that the rain it can corrode rubber. Some people try throwing their umbrellas out and find that they are fine, but what if they get a drop of water? Tangs, who was leaning against the wall, breathed a sigh of relief. Within an hour, the order began to get messed up. This little water source won't last long. It's okay if you have bottled water at home, but when all the food is consumed, the evil side of human nature will fully explode. Looking at the light rain falling outside, Tang Xi gradually began to make plans in his mind. However, a beautiful figure caught Tang Xi's attention. What caught his eye was a pair of bright eyes, as graceful as crystal gems, delicate eyebrows outlining delicate lines, and red lips like cherry blossoms, showing a charming look. The slender and graceful jade neck is like a work of art, elegant and soft, like the stem of a lily, which makes people have the urge to enchant. Her figure is like a melodious melody, with natural and smooth curves, slender waist and plump buttocks, everything is just right. How could Tangs know a food delivery person, but in the community, she was one of the top 3 beauties, and she seemed to be a flight attendant. She had met her in the elevator several times, wearing a uniform and dragging a small suitcase. Of course, with such good looks, how could she not have a boyfriend? The person standing next to her is not only tall, rich and handsome, but also usually travels in a Porsche 718. Let's go, and buy. There's still half a bucket of water at home anyway, so it won't rain for long. Ning Ji disagreed and comforted his girlfriend beside him. Anbai's face was a little pale, but she still said yes, glanced at Tang Xi, and went upstairs with her boyfriend. And Tang Xi smiled. South Thief also has South Thief's fun. After returning home, Tang Xi opened Douyin and found that Douyin was closed and all apps were closed except WeChat, which could be opened. The property group is lively, accusatory, and abusive. No one could sleep peacefully that night, hoping that the rain outside would stop soon, but until the next day, it was still raining. The 3rd day, the 4th day, the 5th day, the 6th day. The rain kept falling. During these days, there would be sounds of smashing and smashing intermittently late at night, accompanied by some screams. This depressing atmosphere can drive people crazy. However, Tang Xi's gate is not big, and the delicacies of the mountains and seas are dazzling every day. When the rain stops outside, we can find a big villa to enjoy it. On the 7th day, Tang Xi decided to go to the underground garage to take a look. The entire community's material transactions were carried out in the underground garage. As the elevator door opened, the noise came in, and the entire underground garage was like a market. The women exchanged their brand name bags and cosmetics for food, while the men exchanged their brand name watches and 4090 Ti computers for water. Hermes summer model, exchange it for a box of mineral water. Replace your Rolex Submariner with 4 bottles of water. If you miss it, it's gone. Needless to say, this computer was sold very quickly. 5 bottles of mineral water and a bag of potato chips were immediately replaced. Tang Xi couldn't help but sigh. This set of capital allocation should be more or less 40,000, but in the end, it was changed. However, there are still normal transactions now, but in 3 days, I'm afraid it won't be like this. Suddenly, Tang Xi saw a neighbor anchor selling cosmetics at a stall. He took out a bottle of mineral water and walked over while drinking. When Sun Ting saw Tang Xi walking by, her expression was a little unnatural. This delivery person must have a lot of food at home, but seeing Tang Xi drinking water, Sun Ting gradually felt longing in her heart. Sun Ting. Soon, Tang Xi saw and by setting up a stall. Because of her outstanding appearance, many people visited her stall. Beauty, play with me once, and I'll give you this bottle of water. Haha, I'll give you 2 bottles of water. I'll give you 3 bottles. The men immediately started auctioning, which made Anbai blush with anger. Shameless. Anbai cursed fiercely, put away the stall and walked towards the elevator. Even Tang Xi received an innocent look. One of the men leaned closer and said, "What are you pretending to be? Let's have a glass of water in the red light district over there." Red light district. Tangs looked around curiously. The so-called red light district turned out to be a warning light. There were many cool women standing around, wearing heavy makeup, and the quality was worrying. Suddenly, a burst of dense footsteps sounded. More than 20 young people appeared. The leading man had a sinister face and tattoos on his arms. The younger men behind him were also menacing. Everyone had a steel pipe in their hand, and even a fruit knife. This sudden scene made the area extremely quiet. I stole them all. As soon as the boss said something, the younger brothers rushed over with evil smiles. Don't take my stuff. You dare to steal my things, I don't want to live anymore. Ah, my head. The boss chuckled. Hand over the supplies to avoid suffering. Is there any more law? Robbery in broad daylight. A man in his 50s stood up and yelled. Wang Fa. I, Ding Feng, am Wang Fa. I broke his legs. The sound of bone cracking calmed everyone down. How dare they resist such a ferocious person on the other side? They handed over the supplies honestly to avoid being beaten in vain. Take those women standing over there for me. Ding Feng looked towards the red light district and showed a joking smile. The younger brothers also laughed. Most people were frightened by the apocalypse, but these people enjoyed it. As quickly as they came, they left quickly, and the men were cursing after they left. We didn't have much supplies in the first place, and they robbed us of them. You didn't resist at all. Then why don't you resist and say such sarcastic words? The mutual accusations immediately started, making Tang Xi shake his head. At this time, a gentleman wearing glasses walked out and said, there is a rolling shutter door between each floor. I suggest that our building be closed to avoid being robbed again. Even if we need to exchange supplies, from the rolling shutter door gap exchange works too. The man's words immediately aroused approval. Without saying a word, he pulled down the rolling shutters around him and blocked them with iron spanners. When the people in the nearby buildings saw it, their eyes lit up, and they immediately imitated the practice of lowering the rolling shutters. The 5 floors of the entire community were immediately separated. I have another suggestion. Gay men can unite and search for supplies, and they will be able to resist those villains. The man with glasses was a leader, and some people responded immediately. And Tang Xi has no interest in working for others. It's the end of the world, why are you still working? You're mentally ill. Returning to his own floor, Tang Xi saw the internet celebrity female anchor Sun Ting squatting at the door of the room, and joked, so you are hiding. Although this anchor is not as good looking as the stewardess, she is still pretty, woman. Sun Ting was not stupid. When she saw the group of people appearing, she immediately ran into the safe passage and came up the stairs. Seeing Tang Xi watching a show, Sun Ting snorted coldly and then asked, do you still have water at home? What does it have to do with you whether there is water in my house? Tang Xi leaned against the door and joked with his hands folded across his chest. A dioc is a dioc. After saying this, Sun Ting opened the door and then closed it firmly. Tang Xi couldn't help but laugh. I was originally a loser. Now that the end of the world is approaching, I just want to live well and let everyone live in peace. If I don't trouble you, don't trouble me. 3 days passed again, and the rain still showed no intention of stopping. The 5 buildings were divided into 5 major factions, and a certain agreement was reached. This building was also planning to hold a meeting in the evening. Naturally, Tang's also had to attend, and the venue was the underground garage. Tang Xi found that everyone was looking a lot haggard, the beauty in Bai's lips were dry, and the female anchor was not much better. The man with glasses stood on the hood with a loudspeaker. Dear owners, my name is Dong Fei. I used to be a corporate executive. Thanks to everyone, I am here to take the lead. The crisis has been going on for more than a week. There has been no rescue, and no official news has been issued. The supplies in our building 3 must be about the same. Yesterday, someone in building 4 ventured out to grab supplies. Although one was broken, at least there were food. Dong Fei's words made everyone present nod. Yesterday, I also saw it in the community group. It was Ding Feng who took his younger brother out. There were no tires but wheels. It was just a little slow and slippery. I heard that one of the younger brothers got wet. It rained a little, and then there were no people. So I suggest that we form a convoy and go out to search for supplies. However, after Dong Fei finished speaking, no one answered. After all, this is a fatal job. As if knowing, Dong Fei adjusted his glasses, his eyes showing fierceness. I won't force it, it doesn't matter if I don't want to contribute. Please don't touch the supplies we get back. I go, I'll go too. The courage of several married men is commendable. There are old and young at home, so they must do it. After setting up 2 fleets, Dong Fei naturally went out in person. Let's all go back. I will notify everyone in the group at that time, but if you want to get something for nothing, then think about what you want in exchange. And Bai looked at her boyfriend beside her and asked in a low voice, Ning Ji Yu, our family has no food. Ning Ji Yu said impatiently, why are you so anxious? My dad said he is trying to find a way to give us food. Do you want me to die? No, I didn't mean it. And Bai explained repeatedly. But Ning Ji Yu said in a deep voice, then what do you mean? And Bai's face turned pale, because that was exactly what she meant. About 3 hours later, 2 cars came back with sparking wheels. 6 people were there when they left, but only 4 were left when they came back. The waiting family members cried when they saw that their sons or husbands had not returned. Did my husband get caught in the rain? My son. Dong Fei said in a deep voice, it's a mess outside. Everyone is grabbing supplies. Your husband and your son were beaten to death by others, not by the rain. Everyone looked at each other in shock, their faces full of fear, but when they saw the food and water in the trunk in the back, their original fear was replaced by desire. I want water, I want water. A skinny man rushed over regardless. Dong Fei picked up the bloody baseball bat and swung it hard, knocking the skinny man's jaw off. But Dong Fei didn't stop. He picked up a baseball bat and hit the man's head hard until the whole head was broken. With blood stains on his face, Dong Fei looked back at everyone. Who else is coming to rob? One person was beaten to death, and everyone was too frightened to say a word. Listen up. If a man wants to exchange supplies, he must go out. If a woman wants to exchange supplies, use your body to exchange them. Dong Fei's words refreshed everyone's outlook. But don't blame Dong Fei. These supplies were all obtained at the cost of one's life, so why should they be shared? There are apocalyptic rules in the last days. Until that night, a slight knock on the door suddenly sounded. Tang Xi put down the pizza in his hand, wiped his hands and walked to open the door, but he still had to look at the peephole first. When he saw that familiar face, the corners of Tang Xi's mouth gradually rose, wondering how long you could endure it. She looks pretty good today. She wears a small white skirt and exquisite makeup, which makes her look even better than that of the stewardess. Opening the door, the person standing at the door was Sun Ting. Who is watching the live broadcast now? Even if there is income, those numbers cannot be exchanged for supplies. Just now, a fellow sister went to exchange for supplies and told about the inhumane treatment. Several men took turns. Come, I only got a glass of water and an Oreo. So I could only come to this food delivery guy. This stinky loser must have a lot of food hidden at home, so I just dressed up, hoping that this loser can do me some good. Sure enough, As soon as she opened the door, Sun Ting smelled a familiar yet unfamiliar smell. This is Orleans pizza. Seeing the hot pizza on the coffee table, Sun Ting couldn't believe it. At this time, he still had pizza to eat. What's the matter? Tang Xi asked calmly, opening a bottle of mineral water and taking a sip. Although she is wearing lipstick, Sun Ting's red lips are almost dry and cracked. As an anchor, it is normal for her to have some food at home, but the problem now is that there is no water. Instant noodles alone are of no use. Brother, can you give me some water? Sun Ting, who used to be arrogant, saw the water flowing from the corner of Tang Xi's mouth and wanted to open her mouth immediately. Tang Xi's smile became much thicker. I still like your arrogant look. Recover yourself and call me a stinky loser. Brother, you misunderstood. I was blind. Sun Ting apologized quickly, completely forgetting her original plan. What kind of seduction? Just take a sip of water and you can do anything. Tang Xi let out a long sigh and slowly lowered the mouth of the bottle. The water slowly flowed down to the ground. Sun Ting didn't hesitate at all. She lay on the ground reflexively and stretched out her dry tongue to lick the floor. Tang Xi slowly retreated into the room, and Sun Ting knelt and licked along the floor. Entering the house, the door was slowly closed. It turns out that kneeling and licking is not an adjective. Putting away the mineral water, Tang Xi sat on the sofa and looked at Sun Ting. Sun Ting slowly raised her head and looked at the mineral water bottle in Tang Xi's hand. Her desire was hard to suppress. Do you still want it? Tang Xi shook his head. Sun Ting lay at Tang Xi's feet and nodded repeatedly. Yes, I want it. Then I'll give you a little more. Sun Ting was about to get the cup, but Tang Xi still poured it on the floor. Even so, Sun Ting licked it obediently. You licked the floor until it was shiny. I'll reward you with a piece of pizza. He threw the pizza directly on the ground. In the past, Sun Ting would not eat this kind of junk food at all, for fear of gaining weight, but now it is like a treasure, and she eats it regardless of her image. Hey, you're dirty. Go take a bath. Sun Ting asked in surprise. Do you still have water for bathing here? Of course, wash up and apply more shower gel. Sun Ting immediately ran into the bathroom. Sure enough, there was clean water. She didn't even have time to close the door, so she couldn't wait to wash it. For her, not washing for a day would make her whole body uncomfortable, let alone it was almost a week. This scene is quite cheap for Tang Xi. A woman who can become an anchor will naturally have good conditions. After taking a bath, Sun Ting realized that the door was not closed, so she closed it immediately and came out dressed neatly after a while. Well, I'll go back first, thank you. Sun Ting didn't want to send her to her door in vain. Besides, this stinky loser is not like that group of people. She can't do anything about herself. She did what she did just now, so it is compensation for the food. Tang Xi smiled lightly and said, after eating my food, I patted my butt and wanted to leave. I did that just now, and I showed it to you. Sun Ting immediately returned to her original demeanor. Tang Xi expressed satisfaction and took out the dark pistol. When she saw the pistol, Sun Ting was stunned, but she quickly smiled and said, is this a lighter or a water gun? Who are you trying to scare? Bang! There was a gunshot, and the sensor lights in the entire building turned on. Everyone in the community was startled by the sound. Who fired the shot? There is a gun. At this time, Sun Ting's face was pale, and the broken decorations fell to the ground. This is a real guy. Those people below can do whatever they want to a woman with just a glass of water. You even ate a piece of my pizza. How about I treat you to a peanut? Sun Ting immediately collapsed on the ground, trembling with fear, thinking it was a sheepfold, but she didn't expect it to be a tiger's den. Where did he get the gun? Come here. Tang Xi waved. How could Sun Ting dare to resist? She put her jade arms on the ground and slowly crawled towards Tang Xi on the sofa. Brother, please forgive me, I will never lie to you again. With a cry in her voice, Sun Ting begged for mercy again and again. She smiled on the surface and looked harmless, but she turned out to be a devil. Tang Xi raised the muzzle of the gun and slid it over that delicate face. Sun Ting opened her eyes wide, feeling that she was about to die. She became extremely regretful and promised him that she would not lose a piece of flesh. You have been so obedient, how could you suffer? Tang Xi showed a kind smile, but no one knew that the shot he just shot actually missed. Sun Ting nodded fiercely and made a squeaking sound. However, Tang Xi's eyes were cold, and the muzzle of his gun was already placed on the back of Sun Ting's head. There is only one fate for lying to me, death. Don't be so picky, it's the end of the world, how can there be so many beauties? Tang Xi suddenly realized that the progress had increased by 1%, which was a little slow. He left Sun Ting aside and sat on the sofa to have a hot pot to replenish his energy. This is much higher quality than 998. This is a bottle of mineral water and a piece of pizza. Who said it is cheap? Spare my life. Sun Ting made a small plea. Tang Xi was stunned for a moment, then grabbed Sun Ting's hair and pulled it up. He found that her face had no color at all, and even her skin had become extremely dry. The slight frown turned out to be the energy tank causing trouble. It still has to be slow and steady, and the progress is only 2%, which is too slow. Eat something, Tang said calmly, with a plate at his feet filled with hot pork belly and fat beef. The hungry Sun Ting ignored the pain and quickly crawled to Tang Xi's feet to eat the delicious food. No, water. This time Tang Xi changed the bowl to a large one that would be enough. Sun Ting chewed the meat and said vaguely, thank you, thank you. You're welcome, you will be mine from now on. Sun Ting, who was lying on the ground drinking water, was stunned, but she didn't dare to resist. Tang Xi didn't explain too much and said with a smile, you have two choices now, either eat peanuts or be obedient. I'll be obedient. Sun Ting chose the latter without hesitation. Only fools want to eat peanuts, as long as they eat enough and drink enough. Tang Xi touched Sun Ting's head and smiled, you will be mine from now on. Tang Xi was stunned, but he was much smarter than before. At the same time, 7 or 8 men were sitting in Dong Fei's home, and supplies were piled up in the entire living room, half of which was mineral water. One of the bald heads seemed to be in a hurry. Don't come out yet, don't kill people. Dong Fei drank red wine and glanced, why are you so anxious? There are not many women. The bald man smiled bitterly and said, there are so many beautiful women. It's hard to find a good-looking one, and it takes so long. Compared to women, the gunshot just now is what we need to deal with. Dong Fei said in a deep voice. This gun has threatened his status, and he even felt that a gun was right in front of his head. If you grab this gun, you can control the entire community. It is not an exaggeration to say that you are the emperor of the community. A Huang Mao sitting next to him said seriously, I feel like the gunshots are coming from our building. It's really similar. Another man agreed. Dong Fei put the red wine glass on the table. Baldo, you and Huang Mao go door to door and check. Baldhead and Huang Mao looked at each other, but they had a gun in their hands. A box of bread and mineral water for each person. There must be a brave man under a heavy reward. Baldhead and Huang Mao nodded. After standing up, Baldhead shouted towards the bedroom, take it easy and wait for me to come back. Dong Fei said helplessly, you like an old woman who is almost 40 years old so much. Brother Dong, you don't know. I'm usually jealous of this woman. If it weren't for this apocalypse, I really wouldn't be able to play with it. I have to thank the apocalypse for it. Everyone smiled evilly, this was much more interesting than going to work. After leaving, Huang Mao chuckled and said, Bald brother, there is an anchor in number 701, who has a great figure, and there is a flight attendant in number 603, who looks so plump. You are smart, kid. I will protect you and protect you from death when you go out in the future. Thank you, bald brother. After you feel good, it will feel good to my brother too. The bald man patted Huang Mao's shoulder. Don't worry, women in this world can be happy as they please. The two of them had forgotten about looking for a gun, and went directly to number 603 to find the stewardess. Inside the house, Chingyi seemed particularly irritable, restless, thirsty and hungry, and almost unconscious. His beautiful girlfriend and Baiwan was sitting on the sofa, looking pitiful. Bang bang bang, there was a knock on the door, startling both people in the house. Chingyi came to the door and saw the bald man and Huang Mao through the smoke. How could he open the door? I know you are in the house, open the door. Huang Mao shouted. Chingyi still has a bit of brain left, and Bai will become their plaything once this door is opened. The bald man held Huang Mao down and shouted, Brother, you have been hungry for many days. The supplies were abundant yesterday. Come to 201 to chat when you are free. After that, Huang Mao left with a puzzled look on his face. Ning Jiyu breathed a sigh of relief, and Anbai also breathed a sigh of relief. However, the words spoken by the bald head kept echoing in his mind, eroding the man's last will. Soon the two came to 701 and knocked on the door. The bald man shouted in the same tone, "We have a lot of food. Come to 201 to chat when you have time. Life is better than anything else. It is better than starving to death at home." The door suddenly opened. However, the one opened next door. Tang Xi looked at the two of them and said in a deep voice, "Knock softly, it's too noisy." The bald man and Huang Mao looked at each other. All the men had been respectful to them recently. When did they have such a tone? Are you looking for death? Why are you talking to my bald brother? Huang Mao immediately walked towards Tang Xi. When he saw the room, he was speechless and stunned. The bald man came over doubtfully and was stunned when he looked into the room. There were chicken stewed with mushrooms, braised pig's trotters, and stir-fried lettuce on the dining table. There is a woman eating next to the focal table. Bald brother, this seems to be the female anchor. Huang Mao stuttered a little. After so many days, no matter how beautiful a woman is, she has become very haggard because she has not eaten or drank. It is not like what she is seeing in front of her. This female anchor is almost turning into a fairy. You have a lot of tricks up your sleeve, you don't have to worry about food and drink, and you have a beautiful woman at home. The bald man said in a strange tone, and walked directly into Tang Xi's house, with Huang Mao following closely. Tang Xi smiled and closed the door. Huang Mao couldn't wait to grab the pig's trotters and eat them. Bald brother, pig's trotters, they are delicious. When Sun Ting saw two men entering the room, she didn't panic at all. She went to sit on the sofa and curled up. The bald man looked at Sun Ting, unable to hide his greed. "Boy, if you know what's going on, take out the food and hand over this woman so that she will suffer less." "This is mine, how can I leave it to you?" "No way," Tang Xi said with a harmless look. Sun Ting thought to herself, "These two idiots are doomed. Huo, if you don't eat the toast, you'll be fined. Bald brother, please stand far away and don't let the blood splash." After saying that, Huang Mao took out a fruit knife and stabbed directly at Tang Xi. However, Huang Mao felt that the black fist enveloped his face when he missed the stab. With a bang, Huang Mao was spinning, his whole face was sunken, and his bald head looked frightened. Sun Ting on the sofa was also shocked. She knew that Tang Xi had a gun, but she didn't expect that he was so powerful. If he had a little bit of care before, but now he doesn't even have that little thought anymore, he doesn't want to be beaten like this by Tang Xi. Shouting Ting, "Go open the window." Tang Xi chuckled and lifted Huang Mao up. After all, Huang Mao weighs 130 pounds and can be lifted so easily with one hand. His bald hand was already shaking. Sun Ting obediently opened the window, and Tang Xi threw the yellow hair out. There was a dull thud. However, no one pays attention at all and is numb. Every day, some people cannot stand the mental torture and choose to commit suicide by jumping off a building. Tang Xi clapped his hands and sat down again, smiling and saying, "Sit down, let's eat together, and give this big brother a pair of bowls and chopsticks." Seeing Sun Ting's obedient look made the bald man feel terrified, wondering what inhuman things the young man in front of her had done to her. Seeing the graceful Sun Ting approaching, the bald man didn't have any desire in his heart, and fear emerged in his heart. "Brother, what do you think? I can do this." Tang Xi picked up the chopsticks and started eating slowly. The bald man dared not hold chopsticks at all. "Look down on me." Tang Xi narrowed his eyes slightly. The bald man quickly picked up his chopsticks and said, "Brother, it's nothing to misunderstand." "That's good, what's going on outside now?" How could the bald man dare to lie? He immediately said, "It's very chaotic outside now. People are killing people everywhere in order to grab supplies. The surrounding convenience stores and supermarkets have been looted by several communities." "What's your boss's plan?" The boss said that when this batch of supplies is finished, he will go grab those from surrounding communities. "How many more do you have?" "Save a little, and I should be able to cope with it for a month." "By the way, is your boss looking for this?" Tangs took out the gun directly. His head was numb when he saw it, and he risked his life for bread and mineral water. The bald head nodded. Tang Xi put down his chopsticks and was already full. What are you doing standing around? Eat, it's your last meal, so I can send you on your way. The bald man burst into tears. Brother, I was wrong. Don't kill me. I'll give you all my supplies. Please. Eat quickly, don't waste it, remember to say thank you to me. Tang Xi's eyes turned cold, and he stuffed his bald head desperately into his mouth. It was the first time he felt that it didn't taste so good. Originally, the bald man thought Dong Fei was cruel enough, but he didn't expect the young man in front of him to say even more, thank you, brother. Come on, jump down yourself, don't let me shoot. There will be blood everywhere. It's hard to clean, right? The bald head kept retreating, pleading with his hands, and soon his back was leaning against the wall. Brother, we have no grievances, you. There was a bang, and before he could finish his words, a gunshot rang out. A red dot appeared between the bald head's eyebrows, and the whole person fell backwards and fell downstairs. Sun Ting swallowed. This man was moody and cruel. Downstairs, Dong Fei and others heard gunshots again and their expressions suddenly changed. Brother Dong, the bald head fell off. A boy on the balcony shouted. Dong Fei immediately ran to the balcony and saw the bald body with a gloomy expression. Boss, if he doesn't come to us, there is no need for us to go to him to cause trouble, so as not to make enemies. Although Dong Fei was not convinced, his younger brother's words were reasonable. If the man with the gun took revenge on him, even a few lives would not be enough to compensate him. Dong Fei immediately sent a message to the number 3 building group. Brother, we have food and drink here. Come and sit down when you have time. This was obviously a sign of bowing his head and wanting to reconcile, but Dong Fei also had other plans in mind. If he really came, he would have a hangman banquet. Tangs, who was sitting on the sofa, chuckled. He had plenty of time to mess with them, and the focus now was on the issue of rations. Seeing Sun Ting rubbing her feet, she decided to let her rest for the night to avoid sudden death on the spot. Aren't you a dancing anchor? Go dance a bit. What does the master like? What do you think? Sun Ting understood, turned on the music, and moved her charming figure. You're a good little anchor. Tang Xi lit a cigarette, and Sun Ting sat next to her holding an ashtray. Sun Ting curled her lips and said in dissatisfaction, who is a small anchor? I am one of the top 3 anchors on the platform. I start out with 6 figures a month. No wonder you called me a stinky dick. Sun Ting. At Dong Fei's house, 6 men drank beer and frowned. The death of Baldhead and Wang Mao had a big impact on their self-confidence. They thought they could cover the sky with one hand in this building, but they didn't expect there was a ruthless man in the dark. Dong Fei, who was standing on the balcony, looked at the corpses downstairs, and his eyes suddenly focused on him. From the position where the 2 people fell, they should have been thrown from his own building. Guzi, check the information on the owners above me and see if any of them haven't come to report. The man called Guzi was about 30 years old, with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks, and deep eye sockets. He had obviously indulged in too much girls in the past 2 days. Soon, Guzi got the result. Brother Dong, there are only 2 families upstairs who have not been here. The one on the 6th floor is Anbai, a stewardess, and the one on the 7th floor is Tang Xi, who delivers food. The fat man sitting next to her slapped her thigh. I met that flight attendant in the elevator before. She is very good looking and has fair skin. She has a rich, handsome boyfriend with her. Could it be that her boyfriend has a gun? Dong Fei also saw Anbai's boyfriend, and he didn't look like a man with a gun. Could it be the food delivery guy? How could a food delivery guy carry a gun? But besides the 2 of them, who else could be there? Could it be that I guessed wrong? Suddenly the cell phone rang. Seeing the voice call display, Dong Fei couldn't help but frown a little more. It was Ding Feng, the boss of Building 4 next door. Holding his eyes, Dong Fei answered with a professional smile, Boss Ding, you're still up so late. Boss Dong didn't sleep either. It seems that he couldn't sleep because of the gunshots. Ding Feng said jokingly. After all, he was not in Building 4, and Ding Feng was not very worried about what might happen to him. Dong Fei chuckled and said, Don't bother Boss Ding to worry about it, I can solve it. Okay. I originally wanted to help Boss Dong. If you come to me if you have trouble, I will be happy to help. Thank you, Boss Ding, for your kindness. I have something else to do, so I'll hang up first. After saying that, Dong Fei hung up and cursed Ding Feng in his heart. How could the gun fall into your hands? Ding Feng on the other side made a sound and put down his phone. The woman sitting next to her is in her 30s and is Ding Feng's girlfriend. She is quite pretty. Brother Feng, you still have to find a way to get the gun. With the gun, you will be the emperor of this community, and you may be able to control several surrounding communities. The woman's words made Ding Feng's heart beat. A building was not Ding Feng's goal. He wanted to control greater power. Also, I heard from the sisters in the group that there is a flight attendant and anchor in Building 3 who are very good looking. I have photos here. The woman opened her phone and showed Ding Feng the photos of Anbai and Sun Ting. Ding Feng's eyes suddenly revealed a greedy look, and he further strengthened his idea, and said with a ferocious smile, "We will have a meeting tomorrow to get ready and ask people to breach Building 3. The woman was overjoyed and knew how to please men. Brother Feng, I also prepared a midnight snack for you. Oh, bring it in, the woman shouted. I saw a girl being brought in by her younger brother. However, this kind of thing has gradually become the norm in the community. The boss who owns the materials controls life and death, and everyone has to bow their head to save their lives. Building 3, number 603. Anbai was wearing black high-definition silk pajamas. She cut open the bottle of mineral water, and her tongue that should have been red turned slightly white as she licked the bottle cap. Ning Ji-yu walked out of the bedroom at this time and glanced at Anbai on the sofa. I'm going out first. Where are you going? Anbai asked quickly, fearing that Ning Ji-yu would leave her alone. Just go out for a while. Seeing that Ning Ji-yu didn't say anything, Anbai walked over and grabbed Ning Gu's sleeve. Are you going to find them? Are you bothered? If I don't go looking for them, I'll just replace my Porsche with a bottle of water and 2 pieces of bread. Just enjoy the food I brought back without doing anything. After saying that, he waved his right hand. The weak Anbai fell to the ground, his face turned pale. Ning Ji-yu saw that Anbai had lost her former beauty, and her mentality changed completely. To tell you the truth, I have reached a cooperation with Brother Dong. If you go to accompany them once a day, we can survive. You asked me to accompany those beasts. Anbai looked at Ning Ji-yu in disbelief. Is this what a boyfriend should say? Then do you want to starve to death? Do you have the heart to let me starve to death? Didn't you say you would die for me before? Now I'm not asking you to die. I'm just asking you to sacrifice your body. A feeling of powerlessness filled Anbai's body. You should think about what I did to you before. Brand name bags, brand name jewelry, various high-end restaurants, none of which are free of charge. I used to pay, but now it's you. After saying that, Ning Ji-yu went out to talk to Dong Fei. Price, after all, my girlfriend is the most beautiful in this building. Although she is a little exhausted from hunger, she can recover in a few days. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Anbai's eyes were full of despair. Dong Fei and his group had become inhumane, and the girl would be worse off than dead if she fell into their hands. Looking at this home, Anbai felt that it didn't smell like the past, and even felt disgusting. She didn't want to stay in this home for a moment. After opening the door and walking out, the air outside made Anbai sober-minded. He couldn't help but reveal a self-deprecating smile on his face. Looking at the window of the safe passage, Anbai made up his mind. Even if I die, I won't be ruined by those beasts. Walking into the safe passage, Anbai heard voices coming from upstairs. With doubts, Anbai walked gently upstairs and immediately saw Tang Xi. Tang Xi and Sun Ting also came out to get some air. At this time, Tang Xi also saw the weak Anbai and said with a smile, "Good afternoon, little sister." Sun Ting was confused for a moment and looked back at Anbai. She didn't expect that Anbai, whom she hadn't seen for several days, was so weak that she was even worse than herself. Although Anbai was not familiar with Sun Ting, he had heard that Sun Ting was an anchor and earned more than himself. Little sister, why are you looking at us like this? Go home quickly. Tang Xi raised his hand and said with a smile. Do you still have food at home? Anbai finally asked this question. If there were other ways, she didn't want to die. Whoever wants to die has no choice but to do so. Sun Ting stood up and walked towards Anbai. Her slender hands passed across Anbai's dry skin and her hair that seemed to be drying up. Of course there is food, do you want to eat? I think so. Anbai nodded repeatedly, envious of Sun Ting's condition. He used to be a bit prettier than her. Sun Ting picked up the half bottle of mineral water on the stairs. Anbai was overjoyed when she saw it. The female compatriot was still reliable at the critical moment. Thank you, thank you. Anbai reached out to take it, but Sun Ting stepped back. Tang Xi couldn't help but chuckle, a bit bad, actually teasing people. Anbai looked at Sun Ting in confusion, wondering what Sun Ting meant, but Sun Ting unscrewed the bottle cap and actually poured some water on the ground. Tang Xi twitched the corner of his mouth. Good guy, use this trick on others. Drink like this, Sun Ting demonstrated in front of Anbai. As the water dropped to the ground, Anbai gently bit her dry red lips and drank the water according to Sun Ting's wishes. Kai li kai, a strange sound sounded in the stairwell. Tang Xi didn't expect that the girl who used to be aloof would also lower her status. Sun Ting sprinkled water as she went upstairs, and Anbai followed her until she got home. As the door closed, Anbai seemed to have just come back to her senses, and immediately smelled a scent that seemed to come from the last century. It's KFC. When she saw the KFC on the coffee table, Anbai's eyes were filled with horror. How could this be possible? Thinking that Tang Xi was delivering food, probably secretly at home, no wonder this female anchor was willing to follow him. Can I? Sun Ting looked at Tang Xi and asked. After all, she wanted to play, but she was afraid of making Tang Xi unhappy. Tang Xi smiled and nodded. Let's see what tricks you can come up with. After getting Tang Xi's permission, Sun Ting felt a lot more at ease. She picked up a piece of chicken leg bone and threw it in front of Anbai. Looking down at the chicken leg bones, Anbai's jade arms were trembling, thinking not to eat the bones, but her brain was not obedient at all, and her slender hand slowly came closer. In the end, hunger defeated dignity. The sound of chewing slowly sounded, accompanied by Anbai's tears. She never thought that one day she would lie on the ground eating bones. Why was she so useless? I heard that your boyfriend is going to sell you. Tang Xi took out a cigarette, and Sun Ting immediately got angry. Anbai trembled, turned his head slightly and said, He didn't. You probably don't know that there is a men's group in our building. Yesterday you auctioned it there. The price was quite high. A bottle of water took half an hour and 4 reservations were made. Tang Xi's words bombarded Anbai's heart, and his hands lacked the strength to support him. It's impossible, he just asked me to accompany Dong Fei. Dong Fei is just your first customer, look at it. Tang Xi put the phone in front of Anbai's eyes. Anbai picked it up and looked at it. The content inside was shocking. There were actually photos of himself. Ning Ji Yu. He even introduced his own advantages. Tears fell, and I felt like the sky was falling. Tang Xi put away his cell phone and flicked the ashes from his cigarette. Sun Ting, who was standing by him, actually used both hands to catch the ashes. This move made Tang Xi call her 666. Why don't you come with me and have food and drink every day? Sun Ting sat next to Anbai, caressing Anbai's cheek, and her voice invaded Anbai's brain like a devil. In this way, I can have 3 meals a day, including all kinds of delicacies from all over the world, and I can also wash off the dirt on my body and survive in this troubled world. Tang Xi suddenly realized that Sun Ting would be better off pimping him in the future. This was definitely a potential stock. Whether you want to stay here or choose to be a plaything, you decide for yourself. Sun Ting patted Anbai on the shoulder and could only help you get here. You should be a smart woman and know what is more important. If you fall into the hands of those people, you will die miserably. If you fall into the hands of Tang Xi, you may be killed by him in the future, but at least you will be fed and drank enough. Those people will feed you and drink enough. Silly sister, don't be naive, they will only give you a little food to make you dependent and control. Anbai was not stupid, so he whispered, I choose to stay. Louder. Sun Ting showed a satisfied smile, madly trampling on Anbai's bottom line of dignity. Anbai gritted her silver teeth and shouted, I choose to stay. Tang Xi even wanted to pay Sun Ting a salary. Talents like this must be retained. It's for you. Tang Xi threw all the bones in front of Anbai. Anbai didn't have any objection and crazily stuffed them into his mouth. To Sun Ting, Tang Xi handed over a bucket of spicy wings. It's very well done. Thank you, master. Sun Ting was overjoyed. Now she had something authentic to eat. Tangs nodded. Holding the bucket of hot wings, Sun Ting ate a lot and gave some to Anbai, who quickly stuffed it into her mouth to replenish her strength. She also needs to be replenished. Sun Ting suddenly realized something. She couldn't let Anbai die, so she finally got someone to support her. Up to you. Although Sun Ting doesn't want to give up spicy wings, she still has to make a choice for the future. Seeing that your mouths are full of oil after eating, go and wash them up quickly. You can also wash her up. Don't worry, it's clean. Sun Ting is now very good at making Tang Xi happy. Entering the bathroom, Sun Ting closed the door. The bathroom was not very big, just big enough for 2 women to stand in. Sun Ting pulled out her tail first and couldn't help but hissed. Why are you like this? Anbai looked at Sun Ting in puzzlement, making such a fool of himself. Sun Ting smiled bitterly. Do we have any other choice? We must choose a strong one. But he doesn't look very strong either. Sister, he has a gun. Sun Ting knocked on Anbai, which was also a warning. Just say this to yourself. If Tang Xi hears it, he will not be able to eat it and walk away. Anbai suddenly realized that it was him who had fired the gunshots in the past few days. Sun Ting slowly took off Anbai's pajamas and chuckled. You have a good figure, he will like it. Anbai still seemed uncomfortable being looked at by others like this. She bit her red lips and said, Can I still go back? Go back? Where are you going? Now that you have agreed, don't go back on your word. He is not a good man and a woman of faith. I almost died in his hands. Sun Ting warned seriously, it's okay to make a fool of yourself, but don't seek death. Listening to Sun Ting's words, Anbai felt that he was still in a tiger's den, but at least there was only one man. Now that you've come, make peace with it. I don't know how long this life will last. If you want to survive, put your dignity on the soles of your feet and flush your 3 views down the toilet. With that, Sun Ting turned on the nozzle. When the hot water poured on Anbai's delicate body, the long-lost warmth enveloped her whole body. Ooh, at this moment, Anbai cried aggrievedly, and Sun Ting sighed and comforted Anbai. It's so difficult for women in the last days, and we should be lucky. After a while, the 2 walked out. Looking at Anbai, Tang Xi suddenly chuckled. With such a beautiful stewardess, a man would probably fantasize about this building. But now she is standing there, with her delicate appearance as if she is waiting for a man to love her. Anbai understood what it meant and walked towards Tang Xi, but still couldn't let go. It's indeed charming, but this face is a bit oozing. Tang Xi's words made Anbai stunned. My face is oozing. Tang's was naturally exaggerating. She was just weak and not as beautiful as before. But this blow was too big for Anbai. Sun Ting, who was standing next to her, reminded her with a smile, I haven't apologized yet. I'm sorry. Anbai lowered his head and said without confidence. Unlike Sun Ting, Anbai looked soft and frail, really like a kitten. Let's take care of it for 2 days to replenish the body. Of course Tang Xi wanted to try it out, but he really felt that Anbai was too weak. After all, there really aren't many beauties, and they are the only ones in this building. However, at this moment, there was a roar outside. Where are you hiding? Come out quickly. Don't force me to beat you to death. Ning Gu's violent voice sounded outside. When he returned home, he found that Anbai was missing. This made Ning Jiyu angry. He had already negotiated the price with the customer, but he actually ran away. If I had known this would happen, I should have locked it as soon as I left the house. Tangs whispered. What will your boyfriend do if he sees you here? No. Anbai looked at Tang Xi pleadingly. However, Tang Xi signaled to Sun Ting. Sun Ting understood and walked over to open the door. Handsome boy, here. Ning Jiyu was stunned when he found this floor. Are you the female anchor? Yes. Ning Jiyu thought to himself. How come this female anchor is so charming, and she is also dressed in such clothes? Mad, he her when he entered the room. However, after Ning Jiyu entered the door, his expression immediately froze. My girlfriend was actually standing there. Isn't the person sitting on the sofa the delivery guy? But when he saw KFC on the coffee table, the corners of Ning Gu's mouth trembled. You eat alone. These words made the 3 of them stunned for a moment. After all, in this kind of scene, the first sentence was related to food. Grabbing the fries on the table, Ning Jiyu stuffed them into his mouth, while Tang Xi watched with a smile, flirting with Anbai's cheeks in front of Ning Jiyu. Ning Ji watched while eating. Although he was angry, it was nothing compared to what he was eating. It was not just for fun. After being satisfied, Ning Ji wiped his mouth. These KFCs belong to me, as well as the water here. Listening to Ning Gu's words, Anbai shed tears and didn't care about herself at all. Seeing that Tang Xi didn't speak, he thought he was acquiescing. Anbai, what are you doing standing still? Come here, my woman charges by the minute. I'm sorry, your woman is mine now. Tang Xi said calmly. You slut, come here, he said and walked towards Tang Xi, preparing to pull Anbai away. However, Karasawa took out a desert eagle from the gap in the sofa. Ning Ji stared in shock. This stinky takeout delivery guy actually had a gun. No wonder Anbai didn't dare to move. Brother, if you have something to say, you can play with her as long as you want. Ning Ji immediately apologized. Why didn't this fool say it earlier? Tang Xi showed a kind smile. You have eaten so much from me, why don't you say thank you? Yes, thank you. Ning Ji apologized quickly. Bang. Blood splattered everywhere. Ning Ji couldn't figure out why Tang Xi wanted to beat him to death when he had already done what Tang Xi wanted. Tang Xi said that he would not let threats grow in the cradle, but strangle them to death in the cradle. However, this loud noise once again caused the community bosses to panic. Obviously the gunshots are slightly different. If you know a little bit, you will know that they are two different calibers. Explain that there are two guns in the community. Do they belong to the same person? Or do they belong to two people? The big bosses were so scared that they held a meeting in the group. If there were two people, if they joined forces, their side would have no chance of winning. In the room, Sun Ting was still calm, but Anbai had fainted from fright, but was woken up directly by Tang Xi. After waking up, Anbai went to the toilet and vomited violently. After walking out for a while, Anbai saw Ning Ji lying in a pool of blood. She found that she didn't feel any emotion in her heart. Shouldn't she be sentimental? Help me, Sun Ting shouted. Oh, the two women dragged the body to the window and threw it downstairs with all their strength. Sun Ting gasped for breath, looked at Anbai and asked, are you okay? Anbai nodded, but his face was still pale. After all, he died in front of him this time. You won't be angry if I kill your boyfriend, right? Tang Xi handed over a glass of water and asked with a smile. Anbai found that although Tang Xi's smile was kind, his back was cold and scary. Anbai shook his head. That's good, take good care of your body. That's what you have to do now. Tang Xi had already made up his mind. They could now take turns and explain in terms of progress, which was twice as fast. But I always feel that it is still too slow, but I can't get rid of those rouge and vulgar powder. Are there any beauties in our community? Tang Xi asked curiously. After all, he goes out early and comes back late, so maybe something has slipped through the net. Sun Ting shook her head. She sat at home and broadcast live every day. How could she know that Anbai flew all over the world and would not live here for too long? Even if she did, she would still be at home without going out. So what Tang Xi said was a useless question. You two come here and rub your legs for me. The two girls sat on both sides of the massage obediently. Tang Xi turned on his phone to check the community group messages. Building 5. The gunman showed up and took my wife away. Building No. 2. There was also a gunman here, and my wife was also taken away. Building No. 1. How many gunmen are there? Building No. 3. The gunman is in our building. You have all been deceived. Please be careful. Building No. 5. What? Then my wife was for nothing. Tang Xi couldn't help but sigh. Someone actually pretended to be him and took advantage of him. Both women saw the news, but did not express their opinions. Smart women will not let themselves appear to be very independent, especially in Tang Xi, where independent women die quickly. Go wash some fruits, Tang Xi said while looking at his phone. Anbai immediately got up and went to prepare. Sun Ting was stunned. Did she realize what she was doing? Not long after, the fruit plate prepared by Anbai arrived. I have to say that there are indeed two hands on this plate, so I say so. Don't use your interests to challenge other people's careers. Leave professional matters to professionals. I, the gunman, will almost make an appearance, Tang Xi said calmly. The two women looked at each other. Sun Ting said worriedly, There are so many of them, it might not be safe to go out rashly. If Tang Xi had any shortcomings, Sun Ting felt that she would not be much better. And Bai didn't say anything, maybe he hadn't realized the problem yet. The next day, the rain became a bit heavy, and there were more and more corpses on the green belt in the middle of the community. Some had jumped from buildings, and some had been thrown out, but at least half of them were naked women. This kind of picture impacts people's nerves, despair is spreading, and human nature is distorted. But in Tang Xi's house, I couldn't feel any change. Sitting at the dining table enjoying Hunan cuisine, Sun Ting and Bai knelt on the floor, waiting for Tang Xi to finish. After all, they ate the leftovers from Tang Xi. After burping, Tang Xi smiled and said, 5 dishes is a bit much. After saying that, he poured the leftovers onto the 2 plates next to him. He said they were leftovers, but in fact, Tangs didn't even take 2 bites. Eat. Placing the food in front of the 2 women, Tang Xi even touched their heads. I took out my cell phone and looked at it. Dong Fei sent a message to the group that everyone would go to the underground garage for a meeting in the evening. I'll take you out to play tonight. Listening to Tang Xi's words, Sun Ting suddenly looked panicked. After all, Tang Xi was alone and had 2 women with him, how could he possibly cope with it? But at this time, Sun Ting did not dare to refute Tang Xi and could only meow obediently. When Anbai saw this, she could only follow along. The good days have not passed for 2 days, is it about to end? Why are you taking the 2 of us? Are you going out to show off? Tang Xi said that showing off is one thing, but it can cause trouble on the other hand. In this apocalyptic world, taking 2 beauties out is tantamount to seeking death, as life is too long. After all, I am a gentleman. If you don't take action, how can I have any reason to beat you to death? Night fell quickly, and people began to appear in the parking lot of Building 3. Everyone was in a very low mood and looked around warily, especially Dong Fei and his party. At the same time, several surrounding buildings seemed to be having meetings tonight, so the underground parking lot was lively, but no one was talking. They all stood together on good terms and looked at others warily from time to time. Mom, what a shame, that Chingyi actually disappeared for me, and even took a deposit from me for a piece of bread. A middle-aged Mediterranean man saw that Chingyi didn't show up, and he couldn't help but cursed. He thought he would be lucky, but now it seems that I have been fooled. That guy even charged me a deposit for a braised egg. I'm going to chop him down later. Those who paid the deposit began to curse. Dong Fei sat on the hood, eating melon seeds, and the boys next to him were holding kitchen knives and fruit knives. The machete was probably the one that caused the most damage. Dong Fei kept staring at the elevator room to see if the disappeared Chingyi was the gunman, the delivery boy, or someone else hiding in the dark. There must be a ghost in one of these 2. Suddenly, a thin man pulled his wife to Dong Fei and said with a flattering smile, "Brother Dong, this is my wife. I want to exchange 2 bottles of water." As soon as these words came out, the men around him all laughed. One of them pointed at his daughter-in-law and said, "You are such a yellow-faced woman and you still want to sell 2 bottles of mineral water. What a waste. That one bottle is enough. My wife is clean and no one has touched her." The man stretched out his index finger excitedly, his dry lips trembling, and pulled his wife in front of Dong Fei. The woman's hair was very messy, after all. It hadn't been washed in more than 10 days and it still had a strange smell. Dong Fei shouted coldly, "Go away. If you want to eat and drink, go out and grab it yourself." This frail man would probably be beaten to death if he went out. "It's all your fault, why didn't you go and grab the food?" The daughter-in-law suddenly whispered. One sentence ignited the man's anger, and he grabbed his wife's hair. "What's the point of marrying you? I can't even exchange for a bottle of water. You are still not a man. If you have no conscience, I will bite you to death." The woman bit her husband's arm. The pain caused her husband to kick her hard, and then she chased after her and kicked him in the head. "You still blame me for being heartless. How long have you been thinking about washing your face? I asked you to wash it, and I'll wash it for you." Suddenly, the wife's face was stained red with blood. She was still struggling. At this time, there was no movement, and she was still alive. Kicked to death. The man looked at his wife's pale face, suddenly seemed to come to her senses, and immediately knelt down next to the body, Wife, I didn't mean it, I was wrong." However, no one around him was sympathetic. In the past few days, he had seen all kinds of people beaten to death. In the rolling shutter door of Building 4 next to Ding Feng, there are more than 20 young and strong men gathered here. They are basically the owners. Everyone is smoking, waiting for the time to come. The vice next to him is ready. As long as with a single order, Ding Feng could break into Building number 3, cut down Dong Fei and his group, and snatch away the materials. But if you do this, the order of the community will be broken again, and other buildings will be on guard, and you won't even have a chance to drive out. Forget it, let me say a few words. Seeing that neither Ning Jiyu nor Tang Xi was there, Dong Fei jumped off the hood and said to everyone. Just as he finished speaking, there was a sudden ding in the elevator, and the elevator door slowly opened. He saw Tang Xi walking out in casual clothes. Dong Fei had not had the chance to look at Tang Xi before, but now he looked carefully at him and felt that he was just an ordinary young man. This kind of person should not even dare to kill anyone. Suddenly, Dong Fei saw Tang Xi following someone. In the next scene, everyone slightly opened their chapped lips, and some even rubbed their eyes, feeling that they were dreaming. I saw two women with beautiful faces walking out slowly on high heels. Their beautiful faces showed no signs of weakness, and were even white and rosy. Their delicate white bodies seemed to have been washed every day, like ripe peaches, generally. Looking at the two women's clothes, the men were swallowing their saliva. They all wear cat-decorated headbands and the Cat Pure Desire series. Their exciting water snake waists are always bombarding the nerves of all men. The white stockings fully reflect the slender legs. At what time, two stunning women suddenly appeared. The scene was silent, and the women around them suddenly became eclipsed. In front of them, they were not even qualified to carry shoes. However, these two women, who were as if they were descended from heaven, were actually following a food delivery person. This is simply a dimensionality reduction blow. Looking at the woman next to him, and comparing it with Sun Ting and Anbai, they are not on the same level at all. Look at how smooth her hair is, how shiny her skin is, but the woman next to her is dirty. Today's Sun Ting and Anbai are indeed charming. Sun Ting is wearing the white version and Anbai is wearing the pink version. This kind of impact is extraordinary. You must know that Sun Ting is 168 centimeters tall and her pair of jade legs are not covered. Anbai also has them. 169, showing beautiful and silky legs. Especially those who brave the catwalk. Before the end of the world, they would definitely be surrounded by people watching, but in the end of the world, they would also be surrounded, but they would not be watching. Sun Ting's steps are now very confident, showing off her proud body, enjoying the silly look of men who are greedy and unable to get what they want. Anbai next to her is much shy, with tension and fear in her beautiful eyes, but she is so pitiful his appearance made the men around him seem to be going crazy. Isn't this the female anchor? She's actually with this food delivery guy. This food delivery guy must have stocked up on a lot of stuff. Why didn't I think of that? Stewardess, this is the stewardess, her rich boyfriend must be dead. Everyone finally understood that you were the only good-looking person in our building, and you were the one who got her out. Dong Fei looked at Tang Xi approaching and couldn't help but chuckle. If you hide it and don't tell, no one will know. If you bring it out like this to show off, have you thought about the consequences? Consequences? What consequences? Show me. Tang Xi looked at Dong Fei and said with a smile. People from the two nearby buildings came to watch the fun. There was a big circle of whistlers, and there were even men shouting loudly. Brother, how can you sell a woman? Can you sell 3 bottles of water? 3 bottles of water. I'll give you a box of water. Give me this pair. Suddenly, a wretched man walked up to Sun Ting and touched Sun Ting's jade arm with his palm, a look of jest on his dirty face. Tangs took out the sword from his waist and slashed it down with a smile. The evil black palm fell to the ground, and the body gradually slipped from the waist. The whole person was chopped into 2 pieces, and the internal organs fell to the ground. Everyone was shocked by Tang Xi's ruthless method. He had so much arm strength that he could cut him in 2 with 1 blow. After a while, no wonder he dared to go out with 2 stunning women to show off. Tangs flicked his hand, and the blood on the blade of the sword fell to the ground, forming a line, and then said seriously, "If you touch my rations, you will cut off my life, and the only outcome will be death." Everyone looked at me, and I looked at you, and finally focused on Dong Fei. If this food delivery guy is killed, then the two women can die if they can play with each other. After all, they will become romantic ghosts, just like starving ghosts. Sun Ting breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that Tang Xi was not someone who liked to show off. He really liked taking her out already. Looking at the pile of rotten meat next to him, it was really disgusting. It was also the first time for Anbai to see Tang Xi's force, and he was shocked. The previous worries and fears gradually disappeared, and a confident and well-behaved smile slowly appeared on his beautiful face. Tang Xi was seen sitting at the front of the car, while Sun Ting and Anbai were sitting sideways on the ground, their bodies pressed against Tang Xi's calves, showing a look of contentment and enjoyment. This is undoubtedly not a stab in the hearts of male compatriots. It is difficult to find a clean woman in the last days, but you can still do it like this. They are still so cooperative. It seems that the expression is not fake. Tang Xi gently stroked the two women's heads with both hands. It's just a small interlude. Isn't there a meeting? Let's continue. Dong Fei squinted his eyes slightly and looked at the knife in Tang Xi's hand, thinking in his mind. The key point was whether Tang Xi had a gun on him. Dong Fei smiled, adjusted his glasses and said, "Let's have a meeting to summarize the incidents of people pretending to be gunmen in the past few days. By the way, do you have a gun?" Tang Xi raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a low smile, "I am a good citizen, how could I have such a thing?" Dong Fei breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the delivery man did not have a gun. If he had a gun, he could frighten everyone if he took it out now. Of course Tang's knows, but the main thing is just to play. I have worked all my life, why can't I just let go and have fun? There is also the matter of supplies. We will organize a trip together in a few days. Brother, I will see if your sword skills are good. Do you want to come together? Not interested, Tang Xi said lightly, holding Sun Ting's hair. Dong Fei felt that the eyes of the people around him were a little different. This food delivery man was challenging his authority. If he didn't establish his authority, then these people would no longer be afraid of him. Speaking of which, brother, you should have a lot of them at home. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Tang Xi. He had a beauty, food and water, and his life was more carefree than before the end of the world. They were jealous and jealous. I have indeed stocked up a lot, otherwise how would I feed them? Tang Xi pinched the two women's cheeks, and the two women moaned comfortably. A hungry and fat man next to him suddenly said, "If you didn't tell me earlier, you wouldn't know how to share things with your neighbors. If you have something, that's selfish. Didn't I say it now? That's right, come and grab it." Tang Xi laughed and divided the heads between you. The fat man who was hungry and skinny hesitated. He looked at the sword that was clamped on Anbai's chest and the corpse cut into two parts, and became scared. Tang Xi spread his hands and curled his lips and said, "Since you don't snatch it, then I will kill you." A sharp flying knife was thrown out directly. The fat man stood there blankly, while a man behind him slowly fell down with a flying knife stuck in his forehead. He was the only man who had asked for 3 bottles of water to buy Anbai. "Well, it's a little embarrassing, but give me another chance and I promise not to miss it." As he spoke, Tang Xi pulled out a throwing knife again with a smile. Everyone around him was frightened and killed people while talking and laughing, even Dong Fei. Neither can be done. The hungry fat man knelt directly on the ground, urine flowing out from the ground. "Brother, no, brother, I'm joking." "I never joke," Tang Xi said with a smile, and this time the flying knife stabbed firmly into the fat man's forehead. Seeing the silence around him, Tang lit a cigarette and blew out a smoke ring. "Is there anyone else you want to grab? If you can grab it, everything about me will be yours, including my big cat." Meow. However, no one dared to move. Everyone placed their hope on Dong Fei. Dong Fei knew that if he didn't do something, his prestige would be gone after tonight. "This little brother, you are the one." Dong Fei gave a thumbs up and praised. Tang Xi readily accepted. "But you probably don't know something. The stewardess next to you, her boyfriend has sold her ownership to me." Dong Fei looked at Anbai and said. And Bei Feng's heart trembled as she sat sideways on the ground. She didn't expect that she was sold directly by Ning Jiyu, and she said that she only accompanied him every day. And Bai couldn't wait to run out and stab the corpse a few more times. Tang Xi nodded. "Really? Why didn't I know you asked her boyfriend to come out? Dong Fei's lips twitched. Where are you looking? You might have killed me. I saw Dong Fei take out a note. This is a sales letter written by her boyfriend. Who knows if you wrote it? Tang Xi snorted. There is also her boyfriend's fingerprint. Dong Fei pointed to the bright red fingerprint. It was obviously not the red color of the seal, but blood. Tang shrugged and said, then how can you prove that this fingerprint belongs to her boyfriend? I think I need to find an agency to check it. Dong Fei was so angry that his hands were trembling and he said coldly, I'm trying to reason with you now, don't force me. It's the end of the world, who is still being reasonable, ha ha ha. Tang Xi couldn't help laughing. Ding Feng and others in Building 4 were lying on the rolling shutter door and laughing too. They felt that Dong Fei was ruined for being such a tease. You're kidding me. Dong Fei took off his glasses and shouted angrily. Tang Xi lifted the two women's chins with his hands and laughed, he doesn't even know I'm playing tricks on him. Both women couldn't help but cover their mouths and laugh. This sentence instantly made Dong Fei lose his mind. Kill him, 1 box of mineral water, no. 2 boxes of mineral water, plus 10 packs of beef jerky. 10 self-heating pots, 20 packs of instant noodles. This is simply a waste of money. There must be a brave man under the heavy reward, and even Dong Fei's younger brother picked up a knife and started to approach step by step. Tang Xi stood up, pulled out the sword from Anbai's chest, twisted his neck and started to kill. With a jumping chop, Dong Fei's military advisor was cut into 2 pieces. With a flick of his wrist, he immediately jumped up. Ah! The man on the side yelled in pain, and his internal organs fell to the ground from his crotch. With just 2 hands, everyone was frightened so that they did not dare to approach, but Tang charged in again with his sword in hand. Grab those 2 women, Dong Fei shouted angrily. Maybe grabbing those 2 women can control the food delivery guy. Why is a food delivery guy so strong? Could it be that he came from Shaolin? Sure enough, some of them ran towards the 2 women without fear of death, but Sun Ting and Anbai showed no intention of running away and were caught standing where they were. Seeing that a hand was about to grab Anbai's jade arm, and his forehead was directly pierced by a flying knife, Tang Xi, who was not far away, said coldly, taking my food rations is more serious than touching me. The 2 women were very scared before, but when they saw the man fall, their worries were unnecessary. They both held pink fists and meowed towards Tang's. As long as he got close to the 2 women, he would be shot in the head by Tang Xi. Tang Xi had practiced throwing knives at home, but he didn't really miss the target. He wanted to find a chance to practice his marksmanship. Soon, 4 men were lying next to the 2 women, and no one came near at all. On the side, more than a dozen corpses had appeared around Tang Xi, and there was a river of blood. Tang Xi's clothes were even stained with blood. When the remaining 3 men saw Tang Xuan looking like a murderous god, they immediately ran towards the elevator entrance. Want to run? Tang Xi directly threw out the sword, piercing through 3, everyone was stunned, so strong. This must be the great Shaolin disciple hidden in Michuan. When Ding Feng saw such a powerful Tang Xi, he also changed his plan. This kid was too strong to be outsmarted by force. At this time, the garage was filled with the smell of blood and fishy stench, and the only men left were Tang Xi and Dong Fei. In just 5 minutes, Tangs had killed all the men in Building 3. Of course, those who didn't come were lucky. Dong Fei looked at Tang Xi, who was like a devil, and took out a cigarette from his pocket with trembling hands. His hand holding the lighter was even more trembling, and he failed to light the cigarette several times. And Tang Xi took out the lighter with a smile. I'm out of gas. Here, I have it. Dong Fei watched in horror as Tang Xi slowly stretched out his head and took a few puffs to light the cigarette. I didn't stop him with my hand, and I didn't even say thank you. It's very impolite, Tang Xi said helplessly. Why is everyone so rude? I started a fire, so you had to stop me with your hand. You don't understand basic common sense. Dong Fei was stunned and said with a stutter, thank you, thank you. Just after saying thank you, Tang Xi's fist hit Dong Fei's heart so hard that his whole chest was dented. Dong Fei hit the Porsche 718 so hard that the glass of the car shattered to the ground. I hate rude people the most. Tang Xi lit a cigarette and looked around. People from the 2 buildings next to him were watching. When they saw Tang Xi's eyes, some people subconsciously dodged. Sun Ting and Anbai looked at such a powerful Tang Xi, glad that they had a choice, and obediently handed the chain to Tang Xi's hand. In the corner, 12 women hid in the corner and shivered, fearing that Tang Xi would kill them too, and the men in Building 3 were almost dead. Tang Xi stopped and looked at the group of women. Raise your heads. Whoever dared to disobey raised his head. Tang Xi sighed in his heart. None of them were good-looking, they were all old women. Take care of the intestines, livers, etc. in this place. Give each person a bottle of water and come to Dong Fei's house to get it. Hearing this, the women immediately became motivated. Even though the men found their husband's body in the pile and put it away without any expression, there were still a few women crying softly. When Ding Feng saw Tang Xi leaving, he turned around with a cold expression. Boss, what should I do? Dong Fei and his group were all killed. It won't be a problem if you chop it down. It's mainly supplies. It doesn't matter if there are few people, so there is no need to consume supplies. Ding Feng showed an evil smile on his lips, feeling that Tang Xi was doing him a favor in disguise. If he killed Tang Xi, he would be able to take over Dong Fei's supplies. On the other side, Tang Xi came to Dong Fei's house, which was full of supplies, but Tang Xi didn't care much. He just came to see the supplies he grabbed. Look what's in the bedroom. The two women grunted and opened the bedroom doors one after another. When Sun Ting opened the door of a bedroom, they were greeted by a stench. Sun Ting turned on the light and looked at the body on the bed in surprise. Isn't this my good sister? When he got closer, he saw that there were spots on the corpses and his pupils were wide open. This group of people actually didn't even let go of the corpses. Sun Ting clenched her fists tightly, thinking of the scene where Tang Xi hacked and killed them just now, and felt relieved. Anbai walked in to take a look at it, frowning tightly, and said softly, if she is sold by Ningji Yu, the ending should be similar to hers. Me too, go and look for her in the bedroom over there. Good, what's wrong? Tang Xi walked in and asked, frowning when he saw the body on the bed. Nothing, a friend of mine. Oh, throw it out, it stinks. Tang Xi covered his nose. These people are so perverted. They have been dead for several days and are still playing. Sun Ting hummed, opened the window, and threw the body out. Master, there are a lot of cigarettes and alcohol here. Anbai shouted from the master bedroom. Tang Xi walked over and took a look. Oh, this Dong Fei is great. He has hoarded so many things, but he is still so stingy. He took out a bottle of red wine and walked out of the bedroom. He saw Sun Ting coming out. Go prepare the mineral water and let them get it later. Keep your word. Okay. After speaking, Tang Xi lay down on the rocking chair, opened the red wine and took a sip. Then what can I do? Anbai squatted next to Tang Xi and asked obediently. She wanted to do something to make Tang Xi feel useful. She just saw the body of Sun Ting's friend and was scared. Being abandoned and ending up with the same fate. Karasawa smiled and patted his leg. Anbai was stunned for a moment, then sat astride Tang Xi with a hint of shyness. This red wine is for you to drink. Tang Xi handed the red wine. Anbai took the red wine and poured it into her red lips. Her white jade neck rose, and the red wine slowly flowed from the corner of her mouth. She was really a beauty. At this time, the women appeared at the door. They were stunned when they saw Tang Xi and Anbai sitting in the rocking chairs, but they were not too surprised. They had seen too much these days and were numb. But as a woman, I was jealous of their beauty, their white bodies, and even smelled the fragrance of shower gel. They can actually take a shower. Looking at women like myself, their hands are now full of blood and dirty, worse than picking up garbage before. This is your reward, take it and go. Sun Ting has already made arrangements, a bottle of water for each person. Everyone got their own reward. When they saw the room full of food and the boxes of mineral water stacked in the corner, other thoughts suddenly came to mind. One of the women called the other women over and started discussing in a low voice. They are all supplies that Dong Fei grabbed before. Let's just take this little. Isn't it too little? A 40-year-old woman immediately echoed, isn't it true? I was so tired from moving the corpse just now. Why did I just throw away a bottle of water? I was just sending away beggars. Yes, the three of them can't eat it. Besides, the men are dead, so it's enough for us to eat. The more he talked, the more enthusiastic he became, as if he was back before the end of the world. After a while, the 12 women elected representatives and came to the door again. Hello, we should have met before. One of the women smiled at Sun Ting. Sun Ting looked at the woman in front of her. After looking for a long time, she couldn't tell who she was. Who are you? I'm Zhou Min from the Community Property Department. Sun Ting remembered it. It was indeed a bit similar. So what the heck, what's the matter? It's like this. We are all women. Moving the corpses just consumed too much energy. Dong Fei has been squeezing us before. We have nothing to eat at all. Can you give us something to eat? After saying this, Zhou Min waited for Sun Ting with trepidation. Answer. But Sun Ting couldn't decide this and looked back at Tang Xi. Tang Xi held the snow-white water snake's waist with both hands. And Bai closed her beautiful eyes and leaned back slightly, unable to help but make a sound. A piece of bread for each person. Tang Xi, who was in a good mood, also showed mercy. Sun Ting nodded and opened a box of 3 squirrels' bread next to her, the kind with egg yolk sandwich. 1 piece per person. Okay, let's go. Sun Ting's eyes gradually became impatient. Don't delay me in trying to please Tang Xi. Look at how hard this little girl and Bai works. However, Zhou Min pressed the door to close and said shamelessly, can you give us both of those 2 boxes? Sun Ting's face suddenly darkened. Tang Xi frowned, his hands tightened subconsciously, and Bai hissed and opened his beautiful eyes. Xiao Bai, you take a rest first. Bai thought something was wrong, was startled, and gently lay on Tang Xi's chest. Tang Xi looked at the door and asked, what did you just say? Facing Tang Xi, Zhou Min was still very scared, but thinking that he didn't seem to kill women, he became a little bolder. Your name is Tang Xi, right? You even came to my house to deliver takeaways. Zhou Min came close to her immediately, but he didn't realize that he was about to flatter him. Oh, you are from that property. Tang Xi showed a kind smile again. Seeing that Tang Xi was so honest, he became a little more courageous. It's like this, there are so many supplies here, can you give me 2 more boxes? You can't eat so much. That makes sense. Tang Xi nodded, which made Zhou Min very happy. We'll just take a little, not too much. Tang Xi didn't say a word. Zhou Min thought Tang Xi acquiesced and pushed Sun Ting away. Sun Ting was unsteady on her feet and fell down. She wanted to cry in pain. She turned to look at Tang Xi and found that Tang Xi was just watching with a smile. Lao Li, there are spicy strips here, move them out, move them out. There are actually French fries, help me, and duck-neck chicken wings, too many. Move this box too. A group of women began carrying supplies in a never-ending process. Tang Xi patted Bai bit her red lips and looked at Tang Xi, the silk in her eyes almost falling out. Tang Xi walked up and said with a smile, are you still moving? Oh, you can't finish this much anyway. There is another box here, hurry up. Zhou Min replied to Tang Xi while asking the sisters to move things. His greedy face made Sun Ting want to vomit. Yuan and Bai both paid a price to have food and drink, but you women know how to get something for nothing, how abominable. Half of the supplies in the house were piled outside at the door. Zhou Min clapped his hands and smiled and said, brother, don't worry, we will keep this in our hearts. When it is safe, we will definitely help you hide the murder. Then I should thank you. Tang Xi couldn't help laughing. You're welcome, you're welcome. It's fate that we both live in the same community. If nothing happens, we'll leave first. Tang Xi scratched the back of his head and said depressedly, you robbed so many things from me and just left as soon as you asked. It's not appropriate, auntie. What are you talking about, kid? Wherever I robbed, I took it. Zhou Min immediately scolded him like an elder. First of all, let me state that I did not agree with you to take it. My cats can testify. Sun Ting nodded immediately, and Bai sat on the ground and nodded along with her. You guys, you are simply unreasonable. Let's go and ignore them. Zhou Min raised his hand, not wanting to say more to Tang Xi, as if he had forgotten how Tang Xi had just raised the knife and dropped it. Tang sighed, silently took out his pistol, and said with a smile, okay, now it's me who will rob you. Bang! The back of Zhou Min's head was penetrated directly, and he fell forward. Blood slowly flowed out, and his pupils were wide open. The women outside the house were all waiting for the elevator, with smiles on their faces. Suddenly they heard gunshots, and then saw Zhou Min fall down, with a shocking shock to the back of his head. Then he saw Tang Xi walking out with a smile on his face, holding a dart pistol in his hand, and he was as quiet as death. You rob me and I will rob you. The main thing is fairness. Finally a woman came to her senses, and the first thing she did was not to run, but to scream loudly. Ah! Bang 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 bang. Continuous gunshots rang out in Building No. 3. Everyone in the community looked panicked and didn't know what was going on. Building 4. Boss, shots were fired in Building 3. I'm not deaf, I heard it. Ding Feng said in a deep voice while hugging his girlfriend. The girlfriend laughed and said, I don't know if the delivery boy was killed. Ding Feng guessed. It's very possible that the guy with the gun has been waiting for the opportunity. Presumably he doesn't have too many bullets. Just when the delivery man killed all the men in Dongfei, he jumped out immediately. Ding Feng's guess was agreed by many people, and it was very likely. Brother Feng, why don't you go and take a look? My girlfriend suggested. Wait for 2 days. Ding Feng was still very steady. At this time, it is in room 2801 on the 28th floor of Building 1. Sister, there's another gunshot. I saw a 25-year-old woman standing by the window, looking out the window with a pair of bright eyes full of panic. This woman has a self-evident sense of beauty. Her facial features seem to have been carefully carved by nature. She has both the subtlety of Eastern women and the three-dimensional sense of the West. There is a sense of wisdom and gentleness between her eyebrows, even though she has been there for many days. It's gone, but the white dress is still as clean as new. As the breeze swayed, the hem of the skirt fluttered gently, and a sad temperament came to her face. Unfortunately, her beautiful figure was covered by the white skirt, but her charming waist and perky buttocks could also be seen. Chingyi. The woman in the kitchen is probably in her 50s, with a little more wrinkles on her face and a bit of weight. But from the basics, it can be seen that she was as beautiful as her sister when she was young, but now she is old and yellow. The elder sister's name is Yi Yuling and the younger sister's name is Yi Chingyi. The two are biological sisters, but their parents wanted a son when they were older, but they ended up with a daughter, so the age difference between the sisters is doubled. Chapter 11. When the apocalypse came, Yi Chingyi had never left the house, especially during the riots. She had been hiding in the bedroom. Even now, the entire community does not know Yi Chingyi's existence. She only came to her sister and brother-in-law's house for a meal, and then prepared to fly back to Yunhai City. As a result, the whole world was in chaos, especially after seeing the female corpses downstairs. Yi Chingyi knew that if others knew about her existence, the outcome would not be much better. Of course Yi Yuling also heard it, and quickly pulled her sister away from the window and yelled, "You don't want your life, this bullet doesn't have eyes." "Sister, when will it be over?" Yi Chingyi was about to collapse. Sometimes she really wanted to jump down and finish her off, but she couldn't do it. Yi Yuling sighed. Our building number 1 is relatively stable. Your brother-in-law is there to control it and there will be no chaos. Looking at the other buildings, it has already been in chaos. Beep beep beep, the sound of pressing the password sounded at the door. Yi Yuling immediately pulled Yi Chingyi behind her and watched carefully. When I saw my husband coming back, I was relieved. Husband, how was the meeting? Why was there another gunshot in Building 3? Yi Yuling asked curiously as she helped take off the man's coat. Yi Chingyi also hurriedly went to pour a sip of water. Brother-in-law, drink some water. Quote. Xie Yuhong hummed and took the water glass, but she didn't dare to take a sip, she just sipped it and put it on the coffee table. The next sentence made the two sisters' faces change drastically. All the men in Building 3 should be dead. What? What? The two sisters looked at each other, wondering why they all suddenly died. They had never heard of it before. Xie Yuhong touched her trouser pocket to find cigarettes, but found that they were gone, so she had no choice but to give up. They were all killed by a deliveryman. Delivery. The sisters were in disbelief. They had long heard that there were crouching tigers, hidden dragons among people delivering food. They thought it was a joke before, but now they think it is very real. I have a video here. Do you want to watch it? It's a bit bloody. Xie Yuhong took out her mobile phone. There were piles of corpses on the grass below, and there was nothing else I dared not look at. The two sisters were sitting on the sofa looking at their phones. When she saw Tang Xi, Yi Yuling frowned slightly. This delivery person looks familiar. He should have delivered it to our house before. Yes, I gave it away. Xie Yuhong nodded. Yi Chingyi immediately noticed Sun Ting and Bai. Their attire made Yi Chingyi blush. Why did they go out dressed like this? But they were all so clean, and their hair was so soft. Even if he used conditioner every day, he was still not clean now. Even in the apocalypse, this beautiful woman is still thinking about comparison. Yi Chingyi feels that she is no worse than them. Brother-in-law, why are they being held by this food delivery guy? Are they being threatened? Yi Chingyi asked curiously, how could two such beautiful women be like this? Xie Yuhong asked. Look at their expressions, do you think they are a threat? Yi Chingyi really noticed, seeing how well behaved they were, even meowing like cats, there was no trace of disgust in their eyes, they even seemed proud of them. These two women should have been brainwashed and turned into pet cats delivering food. Xie Yuhong felt that this must be the case. I also feel that your brother-in-law is right. Yi Chingyi expressed doubts. Then how come they are so clean, unless they have taken a bath, but now the water has stopped. The couple looked at each other, confused and confused. When seeing Tang Xi killing everyone, Yi Chingyi covered her mouth, and Yi Yuling was also shocked. This is too fierce. The 3-minute video will probably take a few days to digest. Husband, he should be the national martial arts champion. Yi Yuling said blankly. Anyway, he is almost the only man left in Building 3. Those gunshots that just came out are either the death of the food delivery guy, or the women in Building 3, nothing else. It has to be said that Xie Yuhong's IQ is still online, and she guessed at least half of it correctly. After a while, Yi Yuling asked softly, how was the meeting today? Xie Yuhong did not answer directly, but said to Yi Chingyi, Chingyi, go to the bedroom and get a piece of bread. Ah, okay. Yi Chingyi stood up and walked to the bedroom and closed the door, but immediately leaned on the door to eavesdrop, knowing that her brother-in-law was leaving her. Xie Yuhong said in a deep voice, although our building is safe for the time being, it will be chaotic sooner or later. I found that a few people started to exchange food with women. They probably saw that other buildings were doing this, so they started to do it without telling me. Then it must be stopped. How to stop? Several of them put pressure on me. Fortunately, Gangxi always supported me. If I hadn't led them out to find food, they would have ignored me long ago. Yi Yuling was worried. What should we do? You have to be mentally prepared for Chingyi. After all, her appearance is outstanding, and she will be discovered sooner or later. When the time comes, Xie Yuhong did not continue, because there were too many living examples lying on the lawn outside. Yi Yuling clasped her hands together, hoping that God would make this disaster pass quickly. Yi Chingyi, who was eavesdropping, slowly sat on the floor, his face paled a bit, his mind was filled with those naked women who jumped off the building, and he choked slightly helplessly. Is your daughter okay? Xie Yuhong asked in a deep voice. Yi Yuling nodded. There is nothing to do today. There is enough food and drink in the school cafeteria. The overall quality of college students is high. Unlike those who live here, most of them are renters. They work for the bottom of society and carry a sense of unfair resentment, so they lose their humanity in such a short period of time. After finishing speaking, Xie Yuhong sighed repeatedly, lamenting what is going on in this world. Can't we work together to resist disasters? However, Xie Yuhong knew in her heart that when the food was gone, no matter how high the quality was, she would become like an animal. At this time, the sound of Tang Xi's vomiting came from the stairwell of Building 3. Holding on to the railing, Tang Xi gasped for breath. It was the first time he had killed so many people and he couldn't ignore them at all. What Tang Xi is thinking about these days is the Doomsday Law. Maybe he doesn't even know it. He is hypnotizing himself, using the Doomsday Law to cover up his humanity, so that he feels that what he does is natural. However, when this self-hypnosis stopped and I recalled the shocking scene, I immediately felt sick to my stomach. But Tang soon calmed down and thought of the Doomsday Law in his mind. Don't feel that you are wrong. There is no fixed right or wrong in the apocalypse. Defend your own interests first. Thinking of this, Tang Xi's eyes immediately became firm. Observe the laws of the last days and have a clear conscience. When he came downstairs, Tang Xi saw Bai and Sun Ting dragging the body down. The stairs were filled with blood, and the blood kept flowing down the steps, which was shocking. Be careful, don't slip. Tang Xi warned. The two women raised their heads and smiled. Their delicate hands were stained with bright red blood, and even their pure white jade bodies were stained with blood red, suddenly filled with an alternative sense of beauty. Looking at the food and water in the house, Tang Xi was thinking about what to do with it and how to maximize the benefits of these materials. Bartering for something? No point. What else can I replace it with? Substitution. There aren't any good beauties worth exchanging in this neighborhood. Looking at the rain that kept falling outside the window, Tang's was also helpless. He wanted to go out to find food rations, but what to do if it kept raining? It seemed that the weather was going to be windy. The two women also dragged the corpse until early in the morning before returning. They were very tired and took a hot bath. Tang's did not treat them badly and prepared a meal. The food was naturally much richer than before. The two girls had worked hard all night, so it was natural for them to replenish their bodies. Soon, a table of barbecue was placed on the table. If people from other buildings saw it, they would probably go crazy. But for Tang's, this was just an ordinary day. Opening WeChat, there was no one talking in the group in this building. It was probably that everyone was dead except for themselves and them. Everyone in the community was talking about his murder, especially in Building 1. They were criticizing from the moral high ground and wanted to drag him out and shoot him. It's just that many WeChat functions have been deleted. You can't download videos and photos, you can't send videos, you can't repost them, you can't join groups, you can't make video calls, you can't even search for people nearby, but some people have groups in outside communities from the beginning. The situation is similar to here. Tang Xi looked up and said with a smile, "Don't you two need a rest?" They had been busy all night and wanted to give them a holiday. Sun Ting's charming look is indeed becoming more and more lively. Looking at Anbai on the side, she is still a little embarrassed. Sun Ting stood up and sat on Tang Xi. Tang Xi smiled bitterly in his heart. He was just thinking about something. "You come up with this move. Help me think of a way first, and then I'll reward you." Tang Xi put out his arms around Sun Ting's waist, which was soft and thin. "What can I do?" Anbai asked curiously. "What do you think would be the best exchange for the supplies in this house?" Sun Ting blurted out directly, "Of course it's a beautiful woman." Anbai paused for a moment, thinking what if Tang Xi didn't want us in the future if it were a beautiful woman. But Sun Ting knew Tang Xi's ability. Only with more rations could her own safety be guaranteed. Besides, Tang Xi also meant the same thing. "I have been observing for a long time. Apart from the two of you, there are no good people in our community. Tang Xi still has requirements. Not all cats and dogs are worthy of being his food. How will you know if you don't try?" After saying this, Sun Ting stood up and picked up her mobile phone. Tang Xi asked curiously, "What do you want to do?" "Publish it in the community group." "How many supplies will it cost?" Sun Ting secretly cursed herself as an idiot and didn't even ask Tang Xi for his opinion. Tang's didn't take it to heart this time, but he actually had this idea. "Half," Tang Xi said calmly. Sun Ting raised her eyebrows slightly. "Is half too much?" Anbai said softly, "If half the supplies can be used to explode a beautiful woman, I think it is still a good deal." "I like what Xiaobai said." Tang Xi patted Anbai on the head and praised him. Sun Ting shrugged, "You're a novice, my sister has taught you so many unique skills, and now you're competing with me for favor." Sun Ting immediately started sending voice messages in the community group. "Hello fellow owners, I am Sun Ting from Building 3. Have you ever been worried about hunger or gone crazy because of dry mouth? I can help you solve this problem. Boss Dong can exchange these supplies for authentic beauties. Kitty, if you are interested, please chat privately, meow." After saying that, he took a photo of the supplies and sent it to the group. Just after I posted it, a lot of friends appeared on my phone. The three of them all looked at it with great interest. They all saw artistic calligraphy and it was a lie. Sun Ting and Anbai knew this aspect too well, and the three of them immediately lost interest. This method was useless. There is even a 50-year-old aunt who claims to be the reincarnation of Daji. She can instantly become younger by drinking water. Karasawa's stomach ached from laughing. "Forget it, I guess I can't find any beauties anymore, so I'd better gain some experience first and find them slowly. The most important thing is time." Ding Feng's bedroom in Building 4. This female anchor actually wants to exchange something for a beautiful woman. Is the food delivery guy dead? Ding Feng's brows formed into a Sichuan shape, and the food delivery guy made him intimidated. The girlfriend next to her whispered, maybe the man with the gun killed the delivery man, and maybe the two women joined the gunman. But there are definitely not many bullets left, Ding Feng said in a deep voice. Don't forget, there is another gun. The girlfriend reminded, the mantis stalking the cicada and the oriole behind it, building number 3 is really weird. Ding Feng's eyes suddenly brightened. Aren't they looking for beauties? Find one and have a look. I have asked those women to add WeChat, but they were all rejected. Ding Feng rubbed his forehead. Finding a beauty like a female anchor was not easy. I think we should attack at night, my girlfriend suggested. Ding Feng hummed, those supplies were more tempting than women and must be taken. In room 2801 of Building 1, Chingyi couldn't sleep, tossing and turning. When she opened WeChat, she found that several of her best friends could not be reached. The situation was very threatening. Only her best friend who lived in a high-end community was slightly safer, but according to what her brother-in-law said before, safety was only temporary. Opening the community owner group, Chingyi found many women chatting. He scrolled up the chat history and immediately saw the advertisement sent by Sun Ting. Hello fellow owners, have you ever been worried about hunger, or gone crazy because of dry mouth? I can help you solve this problem. I will exchange these supplies behind me for authentic beautiful kittens. Anyone who is interested can chat in private, meow. Looking at Sun Ting's sweet smile and smooth skin, Chingyi was very envious. Especially when he saw the photos, the boxes of water and various foods, his lower abdomen couldn't help but growl. However, the food at home can last for a month. Chingyi will naturally not throw himself into a trap and become a big cat and have to meow like a cat, unless he is crazy. At this time, a voice call came. Seeing the display, Chingyi showed a long-lost smile. Ziwei, you're still up so late. A gentle voice came from Chingyi's red lips. A magnetic male voice also sounded in my hand. Can't sleep, I miss you. I miss you as well. It became quiet at this moment. Although they were not a couple yet, they were already engaged. They originally planned to get married at the end of the year, but unfortunately something like this happened. How are you doing there today? Zhang Ziwei asked with concern. It's okay, don't worry, how are you today over there? Don't worry, my area is all a villa area. Because there are few people, there are plenty of supplies. The property management department has stocked up a lot. Chingyi breathed a sigh of relief and turned slightly sideways. Where is Nana? This little girl is still in the mood to do yoga, what do you think? Zhang Ziwei joked, also wanting Chingyi to relax. Very nice. Zhang Ziwei paused, sighed and said, Yi, if you find a way to come over, I don't trust you. Chingyi smiled bitterly. Huan City is 400 kilometers away from Yunhai City. In the past, it could be reached in a short time, but now, it is difficult to move even an inch. I will find a way, don't worry, my brother-in-law is still the boss. Chingyi said with a smile. My classmate told me that there were many community riots, killing people like chickens, and some perverts would not even spare the corpses of women. Ah, Chingyi was frightened, fear appeared on her beautiful face. Zhang Ziwei immediately realized that he had said the wrong thing, and quickly changed the subject, talking about which country he would go to for honeymoon in the future, imagining a bright future. As the battery of the mobile phone was almost out of power, Chingyi put down the mobile phone to charge. Looking at the rain outside, she felt that the wind was getting stronger tonight. Feeling tired, Chingyi fell asleep. But I had a terrifying dream, dreaming that I had turned into a corpse, and countless men were sitting and watching, as if they were looking at grilled steaks, their eyes full of greed. They mutilated and gnawed on their bodies until they turned into white bones. Ah, Chingyi was woken up and sat up suddenly. His black hair was wet with cold sweat. His face was pale and weak. He turned his head and looked out the window. It was already morning. A feeling of powerlessness surged from the bottom of his heart. Can he still get out of this community? Tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Compared to Chingyi, Tang Xi was full of energy. He stretched himself out and looked out the window. It was another day full of energy. I gained a lot of experience last night, and now it has reached 10%. I am still 90% away from getting the Apocalyptic Gift Pack 2.0. Looking at the 90% progress bar, Tang Xi covered his forehead. Although the progress was doubled now, it was still too slow. At the door, 3 automatic rifles were pointed at the door, and ropes were shuttled over the door to connect the triggers. As long as the door is opened or violently smashed open, 3 automatic rifles will empty their magazines and kill everyone at the door. After putting away his weapons, Tang Xi took out a bowl of Lanzhou ramen. The smell of the noodles made the 2 women open their beautiful eyes. Tang's naturally prepared nutritious meals for the 2 women. After all, they were the source of his strength. At noon, Sun Ting was bored and sitting on the balcony. There was a white paper on the black silk screen. She held a 2B pencil in her slim hand and was brushing on the white paper while looking downstairs. Tang Xi walked out of the bedroom curiously and came to behind Sun Ting. The painting is good. I saw a sketch on the white paper, and the content was a pile of corpses below. It looked quite weird. Ah, get up, I'm sorry. Sun Ting quickly stood up, but Tang Xi pressed her down. It's okay, you can continue painting. Sun Ting smiled sheepishly. Have you ever learned to draw? Tang Xi asked curiously. I am an art student. When I was a child, I wanted to be a painter and tour the country. Alas, dreams are good, but reality is cruel. My 1 month of creation can't make as much money as dancing in a live broadcast room. After Sun Ting gave a wry smile, the price she had to pay was no different from what it is now, it was just sleeping with her. Enbai came over after cutting the fruit and said helplessly, Sister's painting is actually very good, but she just didn't meet the right person. Tang Xi picked up the peeled orange and stuffed it into his mouth. You know, I also have a dream. Sun Ting and Enbai looked at Tang Xi curiously. When I was a child, I often looked at the blue sky. I wanted to be a great pilot and protect the sky of the motherland. However, in the end, I struggled to study and was full of duck eggs. With a pop, the 2 women couldn't help but smile. Looking at Enbai beside him, Tang Xi raised his hand and slapped the peach butt. If you dare to laugh at me, I won't hit you. I really can't hold it back. Enbai said aggrievedly, and 5 fingerprints gradually appeared on her white buttocks. What about you, Xiaobai, why do you want to be a stewardess? Tang Xi asked. Enbai looked at the sky outside and murmured, I like to travel everywhere. Being a stewardess can travel for free. It's free of charge. Tang Xi put his arms around Enbai's waist and sat on the sofa. Enbai pouted her red lips and said arrogantly, no way, I am also working part-time, okay. It's unfair. Sun Ting put the drawing book aside, sat next to her with cat steps, and joked, Xiaobai, you are not just a prostitute, you also want to marry into a wealthy family. He was my elementary school classmate. Enbai looked away a long time ago, saying that she had no feelings for her dead ex-boyfriend. Sun Ting rolled up the newspaper and put it to Enbai's mouth. Please tell your story. Oh, there's no story. We just met in the first-class cabin once and we started chatting. He lied to me that he was single at first, but when I asked for marriage, he said he was married and asked me to wait, right away. Divorce and that's it. Tang Xi looked indignant. Scumbag. What a scumbag. Sun Ting also agreed. Enbai also giggled and said, that's right, it's too scumbag. Tang Xi suddenly asked, then you tell me, is he the scumbag, or am I the scumbag? The 2 women were stunned and looked at each other. Tell the truth, or you'll be hungry for 3 days. Tang Xi looked stern, not joking at all. Looking at the unspoken looks in the 2 women's eyes, Tang Xi understood instantly. You call me a scumbag, so I'll show you my scumbag. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Ding Feng looked at the dwindling supplies, as well as the heavy rain and strong wind outside, and decided to attack Building 3 tonight. Brother Feng, brothers are ready. Ding Feng opened the remaining beer, and more than a dozen men poured a little each, and at the same time handed over a cigarette, as if they were doing a final farewell ceremony. Brothers, as long as we get Dong Fei's supplies, we can eat and drink, and we can exchange them for the women in the next few buildings. Ding Feng glanced at the crowd, saying that these things are their motivation. This cake is not if the painting is good, who will do the hard work. Okay, follow Brother Feng, you can eat endless food and play with women. Cheers. 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 After a sip of wine, you feel like you are back to the roadside barbecue stall in the past. Why do I think it was back then? Because I have forgotten the normal life before. It was obviously last month, but it seems like many years have passed. Brother Feng, a friend of mine sent me a WeChat message in Building 1 today, saying that there is going to be chaos in Building 1. Ding Feng sneered, exhaled a puff of smoke and said, that Xie Yuhong really thinks he can control it. Without enough food to support him, chaos will only happen sooner or later. Besides, he will regret it sooner or later if he is such a good person. Isn't it? It's a waste to share the food snatched from outside with those old men. Brother Feng, we robbed Building 3 today, when will we rob the other buildings as well? Ding Feng narrowed his eyes slightly, crossed his legs, and turned to look at the heavy rain outside. Feng Jin and Sun Yu have many friends, and those people are quite united. If they really want to rob, they will lose a lot of people. If they want to rob, it's Building 1. While they are leaderless, kill all the men and leave only the women. All the boys nodded. This plan sounds good. At this time, Ding Feng's cell phone rang. When he saw the message, he frowned deeply and took a drag of his cigarette. Brother Feng, what's wrong? Feng Jin and Sun Yuking said they would grab Building 1 together tonight. Ding Feng was so angry that all the plans he had just thought of were disrupted. The boys looked at each other, and one of them asked, then shall we still fight for Building 3 tonight? Ding Feng's eyes were fierce, and his younger brother shrank his head. They are calling themselves. If they did not go, but robbed Building 3 to get supplies, then the two of them would join forces to kill themselves, and then divide the supplies in Building 3. In the end, the two of them would be fighting. Who would? If you win, you will be the overlord of the community. But I definitely can't be made angry by them in 2 episodes. With this idea in mind, Ding Feng immediately said, instead of grabbing Building 3 tonight, let's grab Building 1 together. We will take action in half an hour. The boss made a decision, and the younger brothers nodded. Some even breathed a sigh of relief. After all, there are guns in Building 3. Although they know there are not many bullets, they have to use their bodies. Whoever gets shot will die. Medical supplies, it's also extremely lacking now. Room 2801, Building 1. Husband, what are you doing? Yi Yuling suddenly walked out of the kitchen and grabbed Xie Yuhong, who was about to go out. Yi Chingyi came out of the bedroom and looked at him in confusion. Xie Yuhong showed a smile that was uglier than crying. Go to Gangxi's house to talk about something. Yi Yuling opened her husband's clothes and saw a bottle of mineral water clamped in her armpit. Do you need some water to talk about? Yi Yuling said in a low voice. Her lips were chapped, and the same was true for Yi Chingyi at the door of the bedroom. The family was now very economical about drinking water, and even just had a little dry mouth every day. Faced with his wife's blame, Xie Yuhong forced a smile and explained, in the past, when talking about things, I would either give money or cigarettes and tea. Now it is normal to give water. But this is the last bottle of water in our house. What will we drink in the future? Xie Yuhong said nothing, but her face darkened a bit. Isn't Gangxi your childhood sweetheart? Your relationship is so strong, do you need to use water? You tell me. Yi Yuling seemed to have a bit of an emotional breakdown, shaking her husband crazily. Xie Yuhong seemed to be ignited at this moment and pushed her wife to the ground. Yi Qingyi whispered, ran over quickly, raised her head and asked in confusion, brother-in-law, what are you doing? My sister is just asking you. Xie Yuhong suddenly laughed, then laughed and cried. For this family, I used to work hard in the company without complaint. I have to support my family, I have to support you, I have to raise my daughter, and I have to pay for my house and car, which one of them is not a mountain on my shoulders. When this disaster happened, for a moment I felt that my whole body was relaxed, but soon I found that I still couldn't relax. If I want to protect you, I still have to fight to the death outside. But what do I get? It used to be this month's salary, but now it's water. Do you know how stressed I am? They are going crazy now. Xie Yuhong almost roared, almost crushing his last nerve. The two sisters were confused and didn't know what to say. Yi Yuling suddenly started to cry, and Yi Qingyi could only comfort her. Xie Yuhong said nothing more and walked out of the house with water. Before closing the door, she warned, no one should open the door except me. Then she closed the door. Soon, Xie Yuhong came to the first floor downstairs and pressed the doorbell. There were footsteps in the house, and a muscular man opened the door. When he saw Xie Yuhong, he smiled and said, Brother Yu, have you figured it out? Xie Yuhong walked into the house, took out the prepared mineral water and put it on the dining table. Gangzi, as long as you support me, our building 1 will not be in chaos. When the strong wind passes, I will take you out to find food. Mao Gang covered his forehead and walked back and forth. Then he put his hands on the dining table and yelled, "Brother Yu. I know you are a good person. You want everyone to be safe, but that is impossible. You have done a good job. For so many days, those people have turned into animals, and only we are fine. Then let's hold on even harder, search for food, and wait for rescue, Gangzi. We can't turn into animals like them." Xie Yuhong grabbed Mao Gang's shoulders with both hands and persuaded loudly. And Mao Gang laughed and said, "Brother Yu, you can't be a good guy these days. You have done a good job. I will be the bad guy." Hearing that Mao Gang was unmoved, Xie Yuhong shouted, "Gangzi, wake up. We can't mess up. If we mess up, they will take advantage of it. Brother Yu, you know it too. Then why do you oppose it and why don't you support me? Do you still think of me as your brother? Why don't I think of you as a brother? If you don't have money to buy a house, why don't I lend you money? That's because you wanted me to live downstairs, and you lent me the money, but the 3,000 yuan mortgage was crushing me to death. Originally, I just wanted to buy a cheaper community, but you asked me to come here. Listen to you, brother. Because I want to take care of you. Haha, you want to take care of those old men and women." When talking about this issue, Mao Gang was very excited and shouted angrily, "What's the use of those old people? They are a complete waste of our resources. We have less points and they still have to preach to us. What's the use of keeping these people? Let's see. In building 2, kill all the old ones, they won't survive long anyway." Hearing Fa Xiao's remarks, Xie Yuhong couldn't believe it. "Gangzi, don't be brainwashed by them. Brother Yu, I have listened to you all my life. Now I only have one request, listen to me once." Mao Gang looked closely at Xie Yuhong, and Xie Yuhong also stared closely at Mao Gang. Suddenly, Xie Yuhong found blood behind Mao Gang's ears and frowned, "Where are your wife and children?" "In the bedroom." Xie Yuhong immediately walked towards the bedroom, opened the door and found Mao Gang's wife and child huddled in the corner, shivering. Seeing this situation, Xie Yuhong frowned a little deeper, closed the door and looked at Mao Gang in the living room, and suddenly opened another door. When she saw the situation inside, Xie Yuhong took a breath and saw a 70-year-old man lying on the ground with a kitchen knife stuck in the back of his head. "This is Mao Gang's old father." Xie Yuhong turned to look at Mao Gang, and Mao Gang said in a deep voice, "The old man can't hold on anymore, let me kill him." "Gangzi, are you still a human? That's your father." Xie Yuhong grabbed Mao Gang's collar, with tears in her eyes. Mao Gang slapped Xie Yuhong's hand away. "Brother Yu, I can even kill my father, no one can block my way." "Madman." Xie Yuhong pushed Mao Gang away, picked up the mineral water on the table and left. Just as she opened the door and walked out, the 60-year-old aunt opposite also happened to walk out. She was stunned when she saw the water in Xie Yuhong's hand and said with a smile, "Mr. Xie, you are so kind, you are here to deliver water again." "It's not for you," Xie Yuhong said solemnly. The aunt grabbed Xie Yuhong's arm. "What do you mean? Didn't you say sharing of materials? Then this bottle of water belongs to me." "No, okay, I still have a few bottles anyway." "How many bottles?" Xie Yuhong looked at the aunt in surprise, and the aunt also knew that she was telling the truth. In fact, she always sold poorly every time, and then she could get more. "How many bottles are there? How many bottles are there? It's you guys. Hurry up and go out to find something to eat. Don't always look for snacks. Look for some vegetables or something. Only in this way can the nutrition be balanced. I've been getting angry lately and my teeth are starting to hurt." "Oops. Here we go again, I'll go back first." You quickly gather people to go out to find food. After that, the aunt went back to the house. Xie Yuhong clenched her fists tightly, these words were undoubtedly bombarding her brain. But what Xie Yuhong is afraid of is not this, but that his wife will be defiled, bullied, and has a sister-in-law. "It's me," Xie Yuhong shouted at the door. Yi Yuling looked at the cat's eye and opened the lock. "Husband, how was the conversation?" Yi Yuling asked curiously. "Not so good. Isn't Gangzi the most obedient to your words? Even that bottle of water won't do. Xie Yuhong put out the water, Yi Yuling and Yi Chingyi paused, and the other party confiscated it, which was a rejection. The faces of both sisters were pale. The doorbell rang suddenly, and my nerves suddenly became tense. Brother Yu, it's me, Gangzi, I figured it out, what you said is right. Mao Gang's shouting sounded outside. Yi Yuling was delighted. I'll open the door. Wait, Xie Yuhong stopped immediately. You two go to the bedroom. The sisters looked at each other and obeyed and went to the bedroom. Looking at Mao Gang outside the cat's eyes, Xie Yuhong shouted, Gangzi, have you really figured it out? Brother Yu, Yingzi gave me a lesson just now. I think what you said is right. I still support you. I'm sorry just now. That's it. I'm going back first. Brother Yu, go to bed early. Mao Gang turned around as he said go to the elevator. Xie Yuhong breathed a sigh of relief, opened the door and shouted, Gangzi, I'm very happy that you can figure it out. Mao Gang, who had his back turned, said softly, Brother Yu, you should open the door. Xie Yuhong was stunned and was about to close the door, but Mao Gang pressed his big hand on it, and suddenly felt a coldness in his arm. He saw his right hand fell to the ground, blood splattered everywhere, and then there was severe pain in his abdomen, and he was kicked down in the room. Mao Gang walked into the room, closed the door, and said with a maniacal smile, Brother Yu, why are you forcing me? Why don't you believe me once? Why do you want me to chop you? Why? Gangzi, stop being stubborn. It's not me who is obsessed with it, it's you. Those people will attack the building tonight. We have no choice. Where is the key to the rolling shutter door? Give it to me. Mao Gang stretched out his hand, his eyes a little colder. Xie Yuhong stood up despite the severe pain and said in disbelief, You betrayed me. Become their traitor. Who asked you to give all the food to those useless people? Do you know how much is hidden in the homes of those immortals? Give me the key. I won't give it to you even if I die. Brother Yu, I will be your brother in the next life. After saying that, he took out the bone-chopping knife that he had prepared, and there was a scuffle in the living room. The two sisters hiding in the bedroom were so frightened that they could even think of fighting outside while hiding under the bed. Yi Yuling was extremely worried. I want to go see your brother-in-law. Sister, don't go out. If my brother-in-law wins, he will naturally open the door. Yi Chingyi whispered. What if it was Gangzi who opened the door? Even if he finds me, he will find you. Yi Yuling stared at her sister closely. The noise outside gradually disappeared, and Yi Yuling said softly, Yi, if anything happens to me, I must find you. Sister, sister. Yi Chingyi just watched his sister climb out of the bed. He couldn't stop his sister from taking this risky move, but he comforted himself in his heart. In his memory, Brother Gangzi was so naive. He smiled every day and read by himself. At that time, I was harassed by gangsters. Brother Gangzi just beat them away, so nothing would happen. At this time, the bedroom door happened to be opened. Yi Chingyi covered her mouth because she saw that those were not her brother-in-law's feet. The soles of these shoes were even covered in blood. The one who opened the door was naturally Mao Gang, his whole body covered with blood. Yi Yuling covered her mouth because she saw her husband lying in the living room, surrounded by blood. And Mao Gang showed a bloody smile, like a devil. Sister-in-law, just now brother you said that you know where the key to the rolling shutter door is. Yi Yuling was so frightened that she lost her mind and slowly raised her finger to point to the dressing table next to her. Mao Gang immediately went to search, and Yi Yuling murmured, When Yingzi gives birth to a baby, your brother Yu will help you contact the hospital. You have no job, and brother Yu will help you find it. If you don't have time to take care of the child, your sister-in-law will help you take care of it. Mao Gang quickly found the key, turned around and said with a smile, Sister-in-law, I will repay you and brother Yu for your kindness in the next life. How could you do this? You are a beast. Yi Yuling beat Mao Gang crazily. Mao Gang did not resist, but the bone-chopping knife in his hand was still dripping with blood. Sister-in-law, I know you and brother Yu are very affectionate. If brother Yu goes down now, he will definitely be very lonely. Why don't you go down and accompany him? It's going to be chaos anyway, so you don't want to be played to death by those men. Sister-in-law, I'll give it to you, it's great. Brother Yu will thank me, he will definitely do it. After muttering, Mao Gang, who was in a daze, picked up the bone-chopping knife and struck Yi Yuling directly on the forehead. The skull suddenly sunk, and Yi Yuling's eyes widened. Fall slowly. Yi Chingyi looked at the bone-chopping knife on her sister's forehead and covered her mouth tightly. Her whole body couldn't help but tremble, and her tears couldn't stop flowing out. Looking at her sister's eyes, she told him to find her daughter. I saw Mao Gang bending down to pull out the bone-chopping knife, and then dropped it hard. Bang bang bang. Sister-in-law, I'm helping you, don't blame me. Brother you, I sent my sister-in-law to accompany you. You and your wife are reunited. Yi Chingyi just watched his sister being hacked to death, her whole face changed beyond recognition, and she didn't dare to make any sound even if her brains were splashed on her eyes. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Yi Chingyi, who was hiding under the bed, finally couldn't suppress the fear and panic in his heart, but he only dared to cry quietly. At this moment, the sky fell. In the garage, the men from buildings 2, 4, and 5 have gathered, a total of 53 men. Of course, there are still some who have not participated. Maybe they don't want to become an animal that can only kill people, or they don't have the courage, and they are afraid. After the disaster, he was arrested and shot. These 53 men were all holding knives, including kitchen knives and fruit knives from home. The 3 bosses, Feng Jin, Ding Feng, and Sun Yuking, have those 50-centimeter-long watermelon knives in their hands. The 3 of them were smoking cigarettes at this time, with excitement about what was about to happen on their faces, like wild beasts. Boss Ding, Boss Sun, after finishing building number 1, let's discuss a time and get Dong Fei's supplies from building No. 3. As for the gunman, can he have as many bullets as we have? Feng Jin is thin but has a height of 1 meter. He is 8 years old and has a mole on the corner of his mouth, which makes him look very uncoordinated. And this person was also a criminal. He had been imprisoned for theft and had committed all kinds of crimes except murder. Ding Feng was at best a gangster, showing off to others. Sun Yuking was a contractor, and he often came into contact with some ruthless people. Although he had a round figure, he was scary when he was ruthless. It can be said that none of these 3 is good. Sun Yuking took a long drag on his cigarette, squinted his eyes and said, "What's there to discuss? Let's rob here tonight and rob that place tomorrow night. Should we do it?" All 3 of them knew that building number 3 was more dangerous than building number 1, but it definitely had more supplies than building No. 1. I agree. Ding Feng flicked the ashes from his cigarette. I want those 2 women. Feng Jin's eyes were shining, and he was also a lustful devil. Ding Feng and Sun Yuking would not agree. Women like and buy and Sun Ting are what every man wants to have. Ding Feng suggested, snatch the woman and auction it with supplies. It's interesting, okay. Feng Jin didn't object, and Sun Yuking naturally wouldn't object, but the 3 of them were thinking that if they could find an opportunity to kill each other, it would be best to find someone to join forces first, which would make it much easier. At this time, Mao Gang ran out of the elevator, and his blood-stained face made people pause. Brush, brush, brush. The rolling shutter door is opened, and a group of demons are about to be rushed to the building. 3 eldest brothers, you can't move my family if you promise. Mao Gang said tremblingly, fearing that the 3 of them would go back on their word. Sun Yuking patted Mao Gang on the shoulder. Don't worry, those who come out are talking about integrity. Brothers, come to me. Kill all the old ones, arrest the young ones, and kill those who resist. Yes, boss. A group of people did not take the elevator, but all took the stairs. The 3 bosses walked slowly behind. In less than a minute, cries, howls, and begging for mercy echoed through the community, like a hell on earth, illuminating the butcher knives. The old lady who lived opposite Mao Gang heard someone knocking on the door, put down the remote control, cursed and went to open the door. It's late at night, and we don't allow anyone to rest. I don't want to think about getting supplies all day long, so it's useless to do this. Without looking at the peephole, the old aunt opened the door directly. When she saw 2 young men standing at the door with knives, the old aunt was not afraid at all. She even lectured, "What are you doing? Use a knife to scare me, an old woman, if you have time. I can only go to take out food to grab supplies, but today's young people don't respect the elderly and care for the young." The 2 young men at the door were stunned. What kind of weird people live in building 1? How can they still survive to this day? What are you looking at? Get out of here, he said and prepared to close the door. But the young man's hand was already on the door. Ning smiled and said, Old guy, I've been wanting to chop you down for a long time. After saying that, he raised his kitchen knife and struck it down. The old aunt was hit by the knife in the shoulder. She fell to the ground with a whoop and a mouthful of food in her mouth. Still cursing, I told you to turn on the loudspeaker every day. It will make me unable to play the game. He slashed at the old lady with a knife. At this time, Mao Gang walked to the door of his house and looked at the old lady. Gangzi, help me quickly. The dying old lady looked at Mao Gang and asked for help, but Mao Gang turned a blind eye and even had a curvature at the corner of his mouth. He probably always wanted to hack this old lady to death. After slashing with a knife, the old woman died, and the two of them searched for supplies in the house. This old guy actually stocked up a box of yogurt, 2 boxes of water, and even sugar-free happy water. The two young people were confused. How could an old lady stock up so many supplies? Of course I want it. If the two young people knew about it, their views would be shattered again. At this time, Tang Xi from Building 3 looked at Building 1 on the right and said with a smile, It's very lively tonight. Building number 1 was breached by several others. Anbai said with a hint of worry. Once building number 1 was breached, he would be the next one. Sun Ting wiped the floor and warned Anbai, Xiao Bai, this is not what we should worry about. Anbai pursed her red lips, thinking of the female corpse in the bedroom before, and said firmly, Even if I die, I don't want to fall into the hands of those people. Tang Xi smiled lightly and said confidently, I'm not dead yet, how could you die? I'll kill as many as you come. An hour later, the cleanup in Building 1 came to an end, and boxes of supplies were moved to the underground parking lot one after another. Looking at the small mountain of supplies, the 3 bosses were a little confused. Next to them, the men and women in Building 1 were squatting on the ground separately. They were a little surprised when they saw so many supplies. Didn't they say they were gone? That Xie Yuhong can do it, he got so many supplies. Feng Jin opened a box of spicy strips, took out a pack, tore it open with his teeth and took a big bite. A younger brother said with a flattering smile, Boss, most of these supplies were plundered from the homes of those old women and old men. Ha ha, that boss of yours is such a good man. He left all the good things to the old guy and left you young people to starve. Sun Yuking couldn't help but laugh wildly, it was really funny. At this time, several men stood up and scolded Xie Yuhong, asking to join other teams. The 3 teams naturally need to recruit young male members. However, there were still a few men who had no choice but to retain their upright character. Feng Jin showed no mercy, kill them to death. Husband, one of the women shouted and ran towards her husband, but was immediately pulled away by her younger brother. You bunch of beasts will definitely be shot in the future. The woman cursed wildly. But the 3 of them didn't care. Before long, several men were hacked to death on the spot. Looking at more than 20 women in their 30s, Sun Jin smiled and said, What are you doing standing there in a daze? We'll break it up. For the sake of fairness, we take turns to choose. I'm older, it's okay if I come first. Feng Jin relied on his old age and had already taken a liking to one of the young women, whose husband had just died. Of course the other 2 don't want to. At this time, in the basement, Chingyi was hiding inside, holding his legs with both hands, and couldn't help but tremble all over, as if he was very cold. Just now, Chingyi took advantage of the chaos and ran here to hide, which was what Xie Yuhong had warned before. Suddenly a bright light came over, it was the light of a mobile phone. Boss, there is a woman hidden here. The younger brother suddenly became excited. Chingyi ran away immediately. He didn't expect that he would be discovered so quickly, but he couldn't outrun the young man. He was grabbed by his long hair. You still want to run away, where can you run? Chingyi screamed in pain and was dragged by his hair. When they came to the parking lot, the younger brother left Chingyi in the middle. Boss, this woman is very good at hiding. Fortunately, I found her. After saying this, he said that he was about to receive the reward. The disheveled Chingyi did not arouse the interest of the 3 bosses, but one of the younger brothers knelt down, pushed the messy hair away, and lifted Chingyi's chin. His expression suddenly froze, and he began to stutter. Old, big, top quality. Sun Yukong looked at his little brother's stupidity and kicked him on the ground. What is the best but not the best? Look at your potential. When Sun Yukong saw it, he was also stunned. Ding Feng also stepped forward to take a look and finally understood. It's really top-notch. I never expected that this poor neighborhood could be so beautiful, no worse than those two. And for so many days, my face has been clean, but when I just dragged it, my skirt was a little dirty. Let me go. Chingyi shook off his little brother's dirty hands and looked at the men around him warily, as if a dream had come true. Feng Jin laughed. It's still a little fierce horse. I don't know how it feels to ride. The boys around me also all looked over. This is much better than those women. She looks so good without makeup. If she dresses up and takes off, she will gain a lot this time. Sun Yukong took out a handful of cigarettes and threw them to his younger brother. This is for you. Holding a handful of King Farong in his hand, the younger brother was very happy. These days, a cigarette can make a smoker work for him. Thank you, boss. Boss Feng, Boss Ding, my younger brother discovered this woman. You won't come and rob her, will you? Sun Yukong's words contained a deep threat. Feng Jin chuckled. What Boss Sun said, I have already agreed before that everything in Building 1 will be divided equally. At this time, Ding Feng was definitely on Feng Jin's side and echoed, Boss Feng is right. Boss Sun is not going to break the agreement between us. Sun Yukong took a long drag on his cigarette, and the smoke could not block his vicious eyes. Suddenly, Sun Yukong smiled and said, it's just a joke, I'll make you nervous. He said this, but in his heart he wanted to hack the two of them to death. It has to be said that beauty is always effective, but this one almost caused the three parties to tear up the fragile cooperative relationship. As Sun Yukong laughed, Feng Jin and Ding Feng also laughed together. But if Sun Yukong disagreed just now, it goes without saying that the people on Sun Yukong's side would be hacked to death. However, Sun Yukong smiled and said, there is only one of these kind of things, how about the three of us take turns? If you want to keep this product as your own, who would want to share it? Chingyi, who was sitting on the ground, looked pale as he listened to the conversation between the three of them. He was like a commodity being divided equally among them. Looking at the load-bearing wall next to him, Chingyi suddenly stood up and ran forward. However, Feng Jin, who has sharp eyes and quick hands, grabbed Chingyi's hair. Want to die? How can it be so easy? Chingyi collapsed, waving his hands and yelling, you fools, you will die badly. Tie her up. Ding Feng shouted coldly. The younger brother took out the rope and tied up Chingyi. Tears flowed down her beautiful face. After hiding for so many days, she still couldn't escape the clutches of the devil. Let's not take turns with this kind of top quality. Didn't we say it would be auction before? Feng Jin suggested. Okay, auction. Sun Yukong agreed, but Ding Feng didn't care. However, Feng Jin suddenly showed a sly look. Since it is an auction, I must take a good look at the goods to see if they are genuine. Once these words are spoken, all men will understand. What are you going to do? Don't come here. Seeing the two younger brothers walking towards him, Chingyi shouted wildly, but this would only increase the excitement of the men. The three bosses are all naked, without any fat on their bodies. They even have vest lines on their waists. They are soft and have a sense of strength. With this appearance and figure, they are no better than the big stars on TV. Tie her to the roof of the car. Chingyi, who was crying and helpless, was forcibly tied to the roof of the car and posed in a shameful pose, allowing people to admire the item that was about to be auctioned. Feng Jin looked towards Building 1 and asked, does anyone know him? A woman immediately replied. She seems to be Xie Yuhong's sister-in-law. Feng Jin suddenly laughed. I didn't expect that Boss Xie actually has a top quality hidden in his house. This good old man didn't even move. He must be keeping it for our brothers. Ha 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 ha. The men around him suddenly laughed. Chingyi's tears seemed to have dried up on the roof of the car. Hearing the evil laughter around him, his whole body was shaking. She graduated from a 985 college. I heard she is getting married soon, and the person is the son of the CEO of a Fortune 500 company in the country. Another woman broke the news. Sun Yukong was very happy. With such a high degree of education, he would probably be incompetent when meeting us before. Isn't it? Feng Jin laughed wildly. Sun Yukong coughed lightly. Okay, let's start the auction. He couldn't wait. Boss, how about I be the auctioneer? A younger brother volunteered. Oh, okay, let me see what kind of flowers you can name. The younger brother Lezizi walked to the car, coughed lightly and shouted, "Dear owners, neighbors, brothers and sisters, we have a unique auction tonight, and it is this beautiful woman." "Ah, what's it called?" "Yi Chingyi," someone in the crowd reminded him. Yes, our auction item is Miss Yi Chingyi, this year. Mao Gang in the crowd reminded. 25 years old, vice president of an advertising company. The people around her suddenly made a tut-tutting sound. Such a woman used to be a goddess. Everyone only dared to watch from a distance. Although they are still watching now, they can still see the snow-white body. Yi Chingyi looked at Mao Gang in the crowd and gritted his teeth. Brother Gangzi was no longer the same brother as before. This Miss Yi Chingyi is 25 years old this year. She is the vice president of an advertising company and the daughter-in-law of the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Think about it, wouldn't it be great to buy the daughter-in-law of a Fortune 500 CEO? Absolutely. Low prices. Of course, this is just Miss Yi Chingyi's identity. The important point is Miss Yi Chingyi herself. Look at these exquisite facial features. There is no artificial trace at all. They are purely natural. Look at this skin that can be broken by blows. The touch is absolutely top-notch. Of course, the most eye-catching thing is the internal structure. The three bosses will go home and appreciate it slowly. I won't wait to see it. I can still interpret that sentence now. The poor will reward you sweetly, and the rich will taste salty. The bidding price starts from a bottle of mineral water, and there is no upper limit. I'll give you a bottle. I saw a young man shouting the price excitedly. My friends around me were shocked. You're crazy. You're trying to steal a woman from the boss. Aren't you afraid of risking your life? Ding Feng calmly shouted. 1 box. Boss Ding is so generous, 5 boxes. Sun Yuking stretched out his palm, sure to win. Feng Jin said calmly. Boss Sun, are these 5 boxes of yours privately owned by you, or do they belong to all your brothers? Sun Yuking's younger brothers were stunned. Yes, the boss used his own water to take photos of women, but he didn't get to play. Sun Yuking cursed in his heart, sowing dissension. Of course it's privately owned. Sun Yuking said in a deep voice. He couldn't steal the brothers' water at this time, as it would be equivalent to robbing their lives. The boys immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, we will use our own supplies to shoot. Ding Feng continued. 6 boxes of water. Feng Jin's face turned a little pale, but he still shouted, 7 boxes. For one person to own 7 boxes of mineral water, that is a huge sum of money, especially when supplies are still so scarce. 7.5 boxes. Ding Feng gritted his teeth. At worst, he could save some for himself and go get some from his younger brother. After hearing this, Yu Feng went to look for supplies. 8 boxes, Sun Yuking said disdainfully. The whole place was in an uproar. 8 boxes of water could save many lives, but now they were used to photograph a beautiful woman. Good-looking women are more popular no matter what the environment. But this makes many women around him jealous. 10 boxes. Suddenly a laugh rang out. The 3 bosses were confused, because they were not the ones calling, and looked behind them. Isn't this the takeaway guy? He's not dead. Was it the gunman who died? That's right, it's Tang Xi who's here. He just gained a lot of experience at home. When he was bored, he came down to see how much supplies they had plundered, and to see if there was any good stuff. As soon as I got there, I heard the sound of an auction. When I got closer, I saw a woman tied to the roof of the car. Tang Xi was surprised. He had never seen this woman in the community. This woman was very good. Compared with Anbai and others, she even had a slightly stronger aura. I'm really lucky today. Rations are falling from the sky, and triple speed is about to start. Yi Chingyi couldn't help but look up at Tang Xi. Isn't this the delivery boy? No, the murderous delivery boy. Tang Xi's appearance silenced the entire underground garage. Isn't he afraid of being surrounded by everyone? How dare he appear alone? Feng Jin took the lead to break the deadlock. Isn't this the boss of Building 3? Come downstairs for a walk when you have time. I'm bored. I saw you guys auctioning, and I couldn't help but want to get involved. Is that okay? Tang Xi glanced at the 3 bosses with a very easygoing smile. but the three bosses had seen this smile before, and they would kill without blinking. It seems that he didn't bring the horse-cutting sword today. Could it be that he brought a gun? Sun Yukong was not afraid of Tang Xi and said directly, "It's inappropriate for you to want to share the spoils we captured as soon as you arrived." Bang! A little smoke came out of the muzzle of the pistol, and a blood hole appeared between Sun Yukong's eyebrows. Blood flowed out from his eyebrows. He even reached out to wipe it, and then fell straight down in disbelief. "Is it appropriate now?" Tang Xi looked at Feng Jin and Ding Feng with a smile. The calmness of the two people disappeared in an instant, and they looked at Tang Xi and the gun in Tang Xi's hand warily. "I was even thinking in my heart that if I let my brothers rush up and kill him, if they were so close to him, they would definitely be beaten to death first. Of course he is lucky. This guy actually has a gun in his hand. Do you want to bet that the gun in his hand is out of bullets?" All the boys around were frightened by Tang Xi's ruthless tactics. Last time, he chopped down Dong Fei's group with his sword. Today, when he came out, he killed Sun Yukong, the boss of Building 5, with a headshot. This food delivery guy is so scary. Not only were the younger brothers frightened, Yi Qingyi's delicate face lost a bit of blood, and she even felt hot on her cheeks. Could it be blood? Of course it's appropriate. What do you think, Boss Ding? Feng Jin reacted and immediately said with a smile. Ding Feng immediately agreed. It's appropriate, and couldn't be more appropriate. I'm a reasonable person. If the auction is normal and I can't get it, that's my problem. Listening to Tang Xi's words, everyone's minds recalled Tang Xi's wild laughter that day. It's the end of the world, who can still be reasonable? So now he is being reasonable again. So is he being reasonable? No, it makes sense to shoot people in the head at every turn. Auctioneer, what are you still doing? Tang Xi reminded, hurry up and wait to go back to gain experience. The auctioneer said oh several times. Well, the boss of Building 3 bids 10 boxes of mineral water. Is there any higher price? 11 boxes. Feng Jin's face was beating with heartache. He had contributed to his family's wealth. However, when I heard Tang Xi say in a low voice, "You really dare to raise the price with me?" Ding Feng was secretly happy, hoping that Tang Xi would kill Feng Jin with one shot. Feng Jin was also startled and showed a panicked expression. Didn't you say it was a normal auction? Feng Jin's frightened look fell into the eyes of his younger brother, and he felt weird that his boss was actually scared into a bird. Yeah, I'm just talking, why are you excited? Tang Xi shrugged. Feng Jin's face could not be darker, and Ding Feng secretly thought it was a pity that this murderous takeaway boy didn't act according to common sense. However, Tang's continued, but now I am very suspicious that you don't have 11 boxes of mineral water at all. How can it be? Then show it and see. Feng Jinggong wanted to say, what about you? But thinking that they had occupied Dong Fei's supplies, he stopped saying this. You guys, go to my house and bring the water. The younger brother immediately ran to Building 2, where a group of people were waiting, while Tang Xi looked Yi Qingyi up and down. Yi Qingyi naturally felt the gaze from Tang Xi and found that Tang Xi's gaze was different from other men. Other men were leering, but his eyes were indescribable, as if they were seeing something delicious. Soon, boxes of mineral water were brought over by the younger brother. Tang Xi smiled and said, you are missing this too. I can divide the supplies I grabbed this time into 4 boxes, plus exactly 11 boxes. Tang Xi patted his forehead. You're bullying me for not being good at math. You only have 6 boxes here. How is that possible? There are clearly 7 boxes in my house. Feng Jin shouted and immediately counted, but after counting, it was still 6. Then he shouted to his younger brother, is there another box missing? Look for it quickly. The younger brothers ran back in panic, while Tang Xi waited with a smile and winked at Yi Qingyi, which confused Yi Qingyi. What does he mean? Are you saving me? At this moment, Yi Qingyi felt that there was still light in the world, and righteous people like her brother-in-law had not disappeared. Soon the boys ran back again. One of them was holding a box in his hand, but there was also a 30-year-old woman in pajamas who was hurriedly running. Husband, what's wrong? Are you in a panic? The woman looked at Feng Jin and asked confusedly, how to move all the water out. When she saw Yi Qingyi on the roof of the car, she immediately understood and felt angry. Boss, the water is here, but... The younger brother didn't know what to say. What? The younger brother turned the box around with a strange expression on his face, only to see that the box was torn open, with only 2 bottles of mineral water left inside. Feng Jin was stunned and immediately shouted, "Who touched my water?" The woman rolled her eyes. "Don't you think I stink? I took a quick shower." "You woman." Feng Jin froze in place, and the people around him were also sighing. There was actually water for bathing. Tang Xi let out a long sigh at this time. "You don't have 11 boxes, you only have 10 boxes and 2 bottles. I have some, and I can borrow a few more bottles. Just wait, right away." Feng Jin was about to ask his younger brother to borrow some water. With a bang, the bullet casing fell to the ground. Feng Jin seemed to be immobilized, his eyes widened, and then he fell down, blood coming out of his forehead. Tang Xi blew into the muzzle of the gun and said calmly, "I hate it when others lie to me." Ding Feng on the side felt happy and scared at the same time, but he was even more scared and broke into cold sweat. In a few minutes, he killed Feng Jin and Sun Yuking. He was the boss. No, would he kill himself too? With this idea, Ding Feng became extremely worried. "Husband." Seeing her man being killed, the woman hurried over and found that her man was dead. "Why are you still standing there? He killed your boss, why don't you kill him?" Another bang. The woman also fell on Feng Jin. She didn't seem to realize who had the final say here. Tang Xi sighed. "What are you doing? We are fighting and killing people. Can't we live in peace with each other?" These words made everyone very angry. Who was fighting and killing? Who made the move first? I'm sorry. But I only dare to think in my heart, no one dares to take the lead, and whoever takes it will die. Chingyi thinks Tang Xi is weird, acting like a cold-blooded killer, but also speaking with a bit of humor. He is such a strange man, but he still has to thank him. "My name is Xixiang, do you want to follow me?" Tang Xi looked at Ding Feng. Ding Feng shook his head quickly. If he followed, he would risk his life. "Is there anyone else who wants to follow? I am very fair and impartial." Tang Xi looked around and shouted without making any sound, looking at Tang Xi with fear. Tang Xi shrugged boredly. "Okay, I won't announce it yet." Okay, congratulations to the boss of Building 3 for winning the beautiful lady." After saying that, he immediately ran over and handed the rope to Tang Xi, as well as Chingyi's pile of tattered clothes, which also contained her mobile phone. Tang Xi patted his forehead. "Yes, I haven't given you water yet, so you can't eat the overlord meal. I killed the 2 bosses, so their supplies should be considered mine. Is this understanding okay?" Tang Xi looked at everyone. Ding Feng laughed and said, "No problem, of course no problem. In that case, let's take it from the 2 bosses. I'm in a good mood today. If you have more, I'll treat everyone to a drink of water." An idea popped into everyone's mind. I have never seen such a shameless person. He came here with nothing and took away the most beautiful woman without giving anything. No, it took 3 bullets. Suddenly remembering something, Tang Xi looked back at the group of people without a boss and reminded them, "If I were you, I would quickly choose a boss." The corner of Ding Feng's mouth trembled. Was he guarding himself? Seeing the people in buildings 2 and 5 gathered together, Ding Feng's forehead formed the character, Sichuan. After 2 people died, 2 new ones would appear to compete with him. "Take away boy, I will definitely make you pay." Arriving at the elevator, Chingyi said weakly, "Can you let me put on some clothes?" Tang Xi turned around and smiled. "It looks pretty, why do you want to wear it?" "Ah, it's all in tatters. Just wear it. It's really troublesome. Can you untie it?" Tang Xi clicked his tongue. "I'm here to serve you." Although he was wearing clothes, Tang Xi felt that it was pretty good and beautiful. Chingyi said gratefully, "Thank you for saving me." Tang Xi just said oh. The elevator door opened, Tang Xi walked in, and Chingyi pursed her red lips and walked in. Soon after arriving at the house, Tang Xi suddenly clapped his hands. "Meows, wake up, there's a new person here." And Bai and Sun Ting opened their eyes tiredly, and slowly sat up and looked at Chingyi. Their original tiredness disappeared instantly and became stunning. Where did you find this?" And Bai asked blankly. There was actually a top grader on the same level as himself in this community. Tang Xi poured a glass of water and leaned against the wall, jokingly saying, "I picked it up while walking outside. Such luck, I can't stop it when it comes." Sun Ting and Anbai stood up and walked to Chingyi to look at them. Chingyi was a little scared and leaned back, feeling that they were too strange. But Chingyi thanked him again. Thank you for saving me. Tang's replied helplessly. You said it before. Chingyi looked a little embarrassed, paused for a moment and then said shamelessly. You are so powerful, do you have a way to get out of here? I'm not Superman, but I can't fly out. Tang Xi spread his hands. This woman has really many demands. Tang Xi said directly. Take her to take a bath first. Can you take a bath here? Chingyi couldn't believe it. No wonder they smelled so good. Sun Ting smiled tenderly and said, of course, if you don't take a bath, wouldn't it smell bad and the master will dislike it? After saying that, he pushed Chingyi into the bathroom. Chingyi said quickly, I can do it myself. We will help you and tell you our rules. Before Chingyi could say anything, he was pushed in by the two women. Tang Xi ignored him. Sun Ting was a senior instructor and had powerful training methods. In the bathroom, Anbai released hot water, and the mist gradually enveloped them. 3 delicate bodies that made people bleed were looming in the mist, making people bleed. Sister, you have a great figure. Sun Ting picked up the shower gel and applied it on Chingyi's body. Anbai smiled shyly and said, yes, we can feel more relaxed again. Chingyi was confused and said quickly, I can do it myself. Sun Ting clicked her tongue. We will be a team from now on. We must take care of each other in order to survive in this apocalypse. Yes, we are in the same group. Anbai chuckled secretly as he said this. Chingyi became more and more confused. What do you mean we are in the same group? We are all the master's kittens. Sun Ting tapped Chingyi's forehead. She was so beautiful, but her reaction was slower than Xiao Bai's. Chingyi immediately took a step back after hearing this, and his eyes changed a bit. I'm not a little kitten, and I won't be one. Anbai and Sun Ting were stunned for a moment, as if they were seeing themselves for the first time. Sister, please don't get excited. This is just a formality. Our main task is to make the master happy. Sun Ting explained. However, Chingyi's tone suddenly changed. I am no one's slave. I don't have to make anyone happy, and I won't join you. Get out of the way. I want to go out. After saying that, he went to get the tattered skirt. Anbai and Sun Ting secretly thought that something bad had happened and that they were going to die. Tang Xi outside suddenly saw the bathroom door open and wondered if the bathing was done so quickly. However, he saw an angry Chingyi walking out, looking at him with extremely disgusted eyes. What's the situation? After taking a step, Tang Xi stopped Chingyi. Get out of the way, I want to go out. You are the same as them, I misjudged you. Tang's beauty, what do you mean you misjudged me? What do you think of me? A hero. Tang Xi was amused. This woman has a very comprehensive mind. Chingyi really saw it this way, but now it was not the case at all. She didn't want to say more and just walked past Tang Xi. Tang Xi couldn't help but let out an ouch, and if he hadn't been seriously short of food rations, he would have collapsed. He grabbed Chingyi's wet hair. Ah, let me go, you despicable villain. Tang Xi grabbed Chingyi's long hair, pulled it down and said in a deep voice, I spent 10 boxes of mineral water to take a picture of you, and you told me you were leaving. I'm not your product, and you can't even hope to succeed. Enduring the pain, Chingyi angrily scolded Tang Xi. Tang Xi's face became extremely cold, and he took out his pistol and moved it towards Chingyi's forehead. Do you really think that I can't bear to part with you, the best ration? Looking at Tang Xi's cold gaze, Chingyi knew that he had angered a devil. It would be better if he died, lest he be tainted, and Ziwei would only know that he was missing. No. At the critical moment, Anbai walked out of the bathroom and shouted subconsciously. Tang Xi's eyes moved to Anbai, as if to say, do you also want to die for her? I can help you. Anbai was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. Sun Ting was still calm and immediately explained, Xiaobai didn't mean that. Xiaobai felt that this sister still had a chance. We didn't resist it at first. Tang Xi narrowed his eyes slightly. Sun Ting continued, it would be too easy to beat her to death now. She will not be grateful at all. After hearing this, Tang Xi felt that it made sense. It seemed a bit cheap to kill her with one shot. But even if she is not shot to death, she must know that I, Tang Xi, am not a man of faith. The right fist landed hard on Chingyi's soft lower abdomen. Although it only used a little strength, it was not something a woman could bear. Chingyi opened her beautiful eyes and covered her lower abdomen. She couldn't help but kneel on the ground and then fell down. The severe pain made her roll up and sweat broke out. Okay, I'll give you a few days. If you still make a fuss, not only will she die, but you will also be punished. Sun Ting wished she could slap herself. Why did she get involved in it? This woman is going to kill everyone, so why are you pretending? Take it in and wash it off. After Tang Xi said that, he lit a cigarette. Others said that he had promised himself to save his life, which was good, but he was shameless in scolding himself. Sun Ting and the frightened Anbai dragged Chingyi into the bathroom. Sun Ting was so angry that she took the shower head and started to shower. Chingyi was lying on the ground with her face pale in pain, like a piece of paper, and she didn't have the strength to speak. We told you with good intentions that you were better off, but we all got punished. When they thought of that feeling, Sun Ting and Anbai's faces turned pale. They never wanted to experience that kind of horrific punishment in their lives. The more Sun Ting thought about it, the more scared she became. She raised her jade foot and stepped on Chingyi's delicate body. Chingyi could only make a muffled sound and curl up in discomfort. Xiaobai, why are you still standing there? You saved her, but she still harmed us both. Anbai seemed to be struggling, and her lips trembled as she said, I don't dare. Xiaobai, do you know why your ex-boyfriend can control you? You are just cowardly. I'm not cowardly, I'm just. Anbai shook his head. Sun Ting held Anbai's chin and shouted, Xiaobai, we two are grasshoppers on a rope. I know, then kick her. Anbai looked down at the painful Chingyi, his face full of struggle, but he still slowly raised his jade leg, and then stepped on it with his eyes closed. Ah! Chingyi let out a painful cry. After all, the woman stepped on it with her eyes closed. It was not light or heavy, but it was much harder than Sun Ting's step. Tang Xi, who was sitting on the sofa, silently heard Chingyi's screams without any emotion on his face. He was originally quite happy tonight and felt that he had picked up a treasure, but did she think this was a charity? How could she be so naive? In the bathroom, Sun Ting had finally finished venting her anger, and Anbai squatted on the ground blankly, unable to believe that she would hurt a stranger. Her eyes were filled with nervousness and panic, but there was still a little excitement after venting her anger. Sun Ting looked at Anbai's expression and sighed, we have even moved the body, what is there to be afraid of? There is no need to feel sorry for this kind of woman, she really thought everyone would get used to her. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. After several WeChat messages in succession, Sun Ting looked at the mobile phone beside her, which seemed to be this woman's mobile phone. Chingyi watched Sun Ting pick up her mobile phone and shouted with pain, give it back to me. Sun Ting glanced at Chingyi with disdain, and then grabbed Chingyi's hand. However, Chingyi immediately struggled and refused to open the fingerprint lock for Sun Ting. Xiaobai, Xiaobai, Anbai, Sun Ting shouted several times before Anbai came back to his senses. Stop being in a daze, hold her down. Ah, oh. Anbai looked at Chingyi with an apologetic look, then held it down, and Sun Ting successfully opened the phone. Sun Ting opened WeChat and raised the corners of her mouth slightly. What an intimate note, my future husband, Mr. Zawei. Give it back to me, give me your phone back. Even though Chingyi was being held down by Anbai, even though her whole body was in pain, she still stretched out her hand to grab the phone. However, Sun Ting's jade foot stepped directly on the back of Chingyi's hand. Ah! With 5 fingers connected to the heart, Chingyi has never suffered anything like this since she was a child. She has always been held in the palm of her hand and protected. Sun Ting chuckled and said, your future husband, Mr. Zawei, seems to be very anxious. He asked you how you were and why you didn't reply to his message. How do you think I should reply? Even if Chingyi was beaten, she could not hold back her tears, but upon hearing such a threat, her long-suppressed tears couldn't help but flow out. Because Chingyi didn't dare to tell her fiancé that there was chaos here, her brother-in-law and sister were dead, and she was also arrested. He is pure in his fiancé's heart, so he must keep it up, even be prepared to die. The pure fiancé is still in his heart and will not be defiled by others. Seeing Chingyi's reaction, Sun Ting's beautiful eyes lit up, as if she had caught something. Sitting on the sofa, Tang Xi watched TV. Now he can only watch online TV, and the local satellite TV is gone. As the bathroom door opened, Tang Xi turned around and saw that Chingyi was indeed extraordinary after cleaning, but his eyes were a bit empty. Master, I'll take her to dress up first, soon. Tang Xi carelessly held his chin and hummed. Although Chingyi was trembling now, he still didn't like her very much. 20 minutes later, Chingyi was finally led out. The originally slightly dry and messy hair became extremely soft and exuded a fragrance. The light makeup made her face more beautiful. The pure white dress fully reflected her bumpy figure. A black tie was tied around her waist. The belt shows off that slim waist. Don't call anyone yet, Sun Ting reminded her by patting Chingyi's butt. Chingyi pinched it into the palm of his hand, lowered his head and gritted his teeth. Seeing that Chingyi didn't speak, Sun Ting became angry immediately, and Chingyi whispered in his ear. Chingyi's delicate body trembled, and he slowly spat out, Master. Tang Xi gave me an affirmative look. Your hand amazed me. Come here, Tang Xi ordered, leaving no room for doubt. Chingyi stood up and came to Tang Xi, but lowered his head and did not look at Tang Xi. In the past, there was no way for a food delivery guy and the other to be the vice president of an advertising company to have any intersection, but now there is more than just an intersection. Sit over here. Tang Xi patted his leg and said calmly. Chingyi bit her red lips tightly, and her delicate red lips turned white. Tang Xi didn't have the slightest pity in his heart. He put his hands on the smooth and slender jade legs and said, Look at me. Seeing that Chingyi didn't respond, Tang Xi said calmly, I don't want to repeat what I said. The beautiful eyes red from crying slowly looked at Tang Xi, and Tang Xi found that Chingyi still had unwillingness and hatred deep in his eyes. Suddenly, a familiar ringtone rang, a voice call. Sun Ting took a look at Chingyi's cell phone and said with a smile, It's your fiance calling. Just such a sentence made Chingyi panic and said hurriedly, Don't answer. How about that? Your fiance is worried about your safety. I'll pick it up for you. You can tell yourself, Sun Ting said and helped answer the question, then handed it to Chingyi. Chingyi didn't even have time to hang up. The appearance of the fiance has appeared. Zhang Zui's worried voice immediately sounded on the phone. Yi, why didn't you reply to my message? I thought something had happened to you, and I was so worried about you. Why are you crying? Did something happen? Listening to her fiance's worried voice, Chingyi felt uneasy in her heart. No, I'm just scared. Chingyi suppressed her tears and showed a sincere smile, telling her fiance not to worry. Zhang Zui was heartbroken. As a man, he couldn't protect his fiance. I'm sorry, I hate that I am incapable of taking you over and making you afraid all day long. There was no flaw on Chingyi's face, and she even said gently, Fool, don't blame yourself, we will be fine. Well, don't cry. I won't cry anymore. Suddenly, Zhang Zui discovered that his fiancée tonight was extraordinarily beautiful. Yi, why are you suddenly wearing makeup? I didn't reply to your message. I was afraid that you would be angry, so I put on some makeup to show you how beautiful I am. The corner of Tang Xi's mouth curled up. This woman, she deceived her man, her IQ is through the sky. You are the most beautiful woman in the world. After hearing this, Sun Ting curled her lips and whispered to Anbai beside her, what a scumbag quote. Yeah, I've heard that too. Zhang Zui's words made Chingyi feel ashamed that she had betrayed the man she loved so much. Ziwei, you go to bed early, I want to rest too. Chingyi was afraid that she would make strange noises and make her fiancé suspicious, so she didn't want to say anything more. Zhang Zui also kissed the camera, and several people shouted that he was shameless. Tang Xi smiled lightly and said, they are such a loving couple, so enviable. I like your body very much, but I don't like the look in your eyes. I don't need you to like me. Chingyi said in a deep voice. Tang Xi suddenly laughed. You seem to be more afraid of them than me. Why is that? Chingyi said nothing, her pretty face turned pale in pain. Tang Xi stretched out his hand, pinched Chingyi's chin, and said calmly, they will threaten you and tell your fiancé about your situation, but I won't. I will only find your fiancé and kill his whole family. You have seen the methods before. You are not human. Chingyi grabbed Tang Xi's clothes and yelled, she was scared. When did I say I was human? I am the devil among devils, and the lewd one. Chingyi could not imagine what would happen if his fiancée found out. He would even kill Zoe's whole family. Thinking of the murderous appearance, Chingyi really would not doubt the authenticity of this. From now on, you can eat their leftover meals. If you behave well, you will have a chance to be like them. Now you know what to do. The next day, Chingyi woke up in a daze. The first thing he felt was whether he was dead. When he saw the decorations around him, he realized that he was not dead, but still in hell. Thinking of the insult last night, Chingyi wanted to cry. But found that I couldn't cry. Her sister and her husband died tragically at home, and she ended up in the same fate. Seeing that the door was not far away, Chingyi had the idea of escape. Just when I moved my body a little, I felt severe pain in my lower abdomen. If I had known this, I should have given it to my fiancé earlier. Enduring the pain, Chingyi moved slowly. The clanking sound of the iron chains woke up the two women sleeping next to them. Ting yawned and said lightly, "It seems that you haven't developed a long memory yet." Chingyi was able to become the vice president. Although he had the help of his fiancé, he also had a bright mind. When you are in such a situation, the only way is to swallow your anger and look for another opportunity. You will never bow your head. "No, I'm just a little hungry," Chingyi quickly explained. And Bai chuckled and said, "It's not time to eat yet, and the master hasn't gotten up yet." Chingyi discovered that Anbai and Ting were different. Ting was Tang Xi's most loyal follower, but Anbai felt different, as if he was oppressed just like himself. Maybe we can find a breakthrough point from here. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.